Chapter 1234. On the Stone Room Mountain, countless cultivators who believed in true Lord Dao De knelt down and welcomed Ning Fan's arrival with the most sincere attitude. In the eyes of the world, Ning Fan was the role model of the cultivation world. He was the moral standard of Northern Heaven, the last pure land at the end of the path to immortality, and an immortal with immeasurable virtue who had lived from ancient times until today. I, Zhao Jian, am the only one who does good every day. This slogan was not just a saying, but it was really put into practice. How many powerful beings in Northern Heaven had received Ning Fan's help? They regarded him as a god and worshipped him. Seeing the cheers getting louder and louder, how could Ning Fan still remember the anger he felt when he killed venerated Qi? All he felt was helplessness. He had never been a role model of morality, let alone an ancient great cultivator. However, the public opinion of Northern Heaven had praised him to the skies. These people really couldn't differentiate between good and evil. Just as he was feeling helpless, a person suddenly descended with an immense aura force of a first-level quasi-sage. This person was the person who asked Ning Fan to show mercy. He was an old man who was even fatter than venerated Qi. He walked in the starry sky. Wherever he passed by, he would leave footprints of the light of fortune. The cultivators on the Stone Room Mountain were originally cheering. As soon as they saw this person, their cheers were suppressed and gradually disappeared. Obviously, they were afraid of his arrival. A knowledgeable cultivator immediately identified the identity of this person. He was none other than venerated Qi's master, True Lord Fuzhe. True Lord Fuzhe stared at Ning Fan with monstrous fury in his eyes. He had clearly asked Ning Fan to show mercy and let venerated Qi go. However, Ning Fan turned a deaf ear to his words and killed venerated Qi. Nominally, he took venerated Qi as his disciple and nurtured him. In reality, he had great plans for this disciple. How could he not hate venerated Qi when he saw venerated Qi's death? If Ning Fan was really an ancient great cultivator, he might have to suffer this grievance in silence. However, was Ning Fan an ancient great cultivator? Ordinary people might not be able to see through Ning Fan, but a quasi-sage like him had already calculated everything. When he heard that an ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian, had appeared in the world, True Lord Fuzhe had purposely prayed to the heavens and used his immeasurable fortune to make a deduction. The conclusion he got was that Ning Fan was not an ancient great cultivator at all, but a junior immortal king realm cultivator. The so-called ancient grand cultivator Zhao Jian was merely a misunderstanding of the world. Having his disciple killed by an immortal king junior, did he need to endure it? What's going on? True monarch Fuzhe's spirit sense was filled with rage. He scanned Ning Fan with his spirit sense. Then, he let out a soft exclamation of surprise. He had already divined Ning Fan's cultivation base a long time ago. In the past, Ning Fan should be an immortal king without a doubt. However, when he looked at Ning Fan's cultivation base now, he actually could not see through it. For some unknown reason, Ning Fan's current cultivation base was like two great circles overlapping with each other, giving True Lord Fuzhe a feeling that he was unfathomable. I can't see through it. He was a quasi-sage, but he couldn't see through the enemy's cultivation. Logically speaking, it was impossible for such a situation to occur even in the face of a true ancient great cultivator. If such a thing really did occur, there was only one explanation. The other party had a special method to conceal their cultivation. Insignificant skill. This kid is surely using some sort of technique, and that's why I'm unable to see through his cultivation. Isn't acting mysterious like this even more proof that this kid doesn't dare to expose his true cultivation in front of others? I can't be wrong. He's not an ancient great cultivator. He's just an ordinary immortal king. With that in mind, True Lord Fuzhe no longer cared about Ning Fan's strange cultivation base. He flicked his horsetail whisk and spoke to Ning Fan in a condescending manner. How dare you? I'm immortal Fuzhe of Changla Mountain. The Qi Lu you killed is my disciple. You have to give me an explanation for killing the disciples of my Changla Mountain, don't you? If you're sensible, follow me back to Changla Mountain obediently to be punished. If you dare to disobey, don't blame me for making your primordial spirit dissipate instantly and dying in front of tens of thousands of immortals. As he spoke, True Lord Fuse stood with his hands clasped behind his back like a senior expert, looking down at Ning Fan like an ant. His tone was extremely arrogant, as if he could kill Ning Fan tens of times or even hundreds of times with just a raise of his hand. He was full of confidence. As soon as his words fell, the entire Stone Chamber Mountain immediately burst into an uproar. Currently, the entire Northern Heaven believed that Ning Fan was an ancient great cultivator. What about True Lord Fuse? He seems to be just a first-level quasi-sage, isn't he? True Lord Fuse, who was at the first-level quasi-sage realm, actually dared to speak rudely to Ning Fan, who was a great cultivator. No matter how one looked at it, True Lord Fuse seemed to be overestimating himself. Could it be that this True Lord Fuse had done too many bad things that his brain had become stupid? Otherwise, why would he say such unwise words? Fellow Taoist sure has a big tone. However, I wonder if fellow Taoist has the ability to kill me in an instant. Ning Fan slowly stepped forward. True Lord Fuse's powerful quasi-sage realm aura force did not pose any threat to him. Instead, his aura force was increasing step by step, forcefully suppressing True Lord Fuse. True Lord Fuse's expression changed slightly. After all, it was not Ning Fan's first time facing a first-level quasi-sage realm expert. He had also killed a first-level quasi-sage realm expert before. This young man's aura force is really strong. True Lord Fuse was slightly surprised. However, that was all. Aura force was something intangible. It was not like it could not be faked. There were many divine abilities and secret techniques that could increase one's aura force. True Lord Fuse alone knew more than 100 of them. Ning Fan's aura force could not scare him. No matter how many illusions this young man made, it could not hide the fact that he was just an immortal King Realm Jr. Humph. It seems like you don't plan to leave with me. Since that's the case, I will teach you how terrifying it is to offend a quasi-sage realm expert. True Lord Fuse suddenly shouted, dispersing Ning Fan's aura force that was suppressing him. Then he raised his index finger and pointed it at the sky. Instantly, an ancient innate mirror with overwhelming profound chi appeared between heaven and earth. It was as tall as half the mountain. This was the sign of a battle. The Stone Room Mountain was about to become the battlefield of a quasi-sage realm battle. How could the chess battle continue? Be it the chess players or the spectators. All of them hurriedly retreated to the external endless sea. They wanted to stay as far away from the mountain as possible to avoid getting involved in the battle. Palace Lord Yuan Yao, Miss Xiaoman and the other ladies, please follow us and leave this place. It was Great Emperor Sand, Enlightened Being Tao Li and a large group of Zhao Jian's believers. They wanted to escort Bei Xiaoman and her daughter away from the Stone Room Mountain. Yuan Yao had lived for a long time, but it was her first time being greeted by an immortal emperor with cupped fists and being treated with respect. It was imaginable how shocked she was. What shocked her even more was the way the people present addressed Ning Fan. An ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian. She even doubted whether Ning Fan had the strength of an immortal king. Now, however, someone told her that Ning Fan was an ancient great cultivator. Seniors, are you mistaken? Ning Fan has only cultivated for a short period of time. When I first met him several hundred years ago, he was just a divine transformation realm cultivator. How could he be an ancient great cultivator that everyone is talking about? Yuan Yao still found it hard to believe. Bei Xiaoman and her sisters also found it hard to believe. It's him. Isn't he the crazy young master who counted mushrooms among the refugees of the Chu clan? He doesn't even have a clear mind. How could he be an ancient great cultivator? Bei Shi said. An ancient great cultivator? There must be some misunderstanding. Before he became an immortal, I had already fought against him. At that time he was pitifully weak. How could he be an ancient great cultivator? Bei Qinghan said. I dare not lie to seniors. I was the one who personally oversaw this young master's divine transformation realm cultivation. He can't be an ancient great cultivator. Bailey said. I saw him when he was at the vein opening realm. How could he be an ancient great cultivator? There must be some mistake. Yes. It must be like this. Bei Xiaoman said. Seeing that the mother and daughter of the Bei clan were getting more and more ridiculous, Sand Emperor and Enlightened Being Tao Li exchanged glances with each other. They saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. It seems like Senior Zhao Jian has kept them in the dark. How could a dignified ancient great cultivator have such a low cultivation base? How could he be seen when he was at the vein-opening realm? I swear with my integrity that Senior Zhao Jian is really an ancient great cultivator. As soon as Sea Sand Emperor's words fell, a bolt of lightning suddenly appeared between heaven and earth and struck him hard. As an immortal emperor, Sea Sand Emperor would not be hurt by ordinary lightning strikes. However, it was somewhat strange. He was swearing with his integrity and not lying. Why did the heavenly lightning strike him? Damn it, the heavenly Tao is really not prosperous. How dare it strike people randomly? I am also willing to swear with my integrity that Senior Zhao Jian's benevolence and righteousness are real. If there is any falsehood in his words, I will not have a good ending. Before enlightened being Tao Li could finish his last word, another bolt of heavenly lightning struck him with a loud rumble, as if it was punishing him for making a false oath. Damn it! The heavenly Tao strikes me for no reason. The heavens are really blind. In today's world, the heavenly Tao is already in chaos and the Tao of the world is even more rampant. However, heroes are bound to emerge in troubled times. It's no wonder that Senior Zhao would choose to return to the mortal world at such a time to save the common people. This heart of helping the world really fascinates me. After being struck by lightning, enlightened being Tao Li admired Ning Fan even more. Forget it. If the madams don't believe me, you can use your own eyes to verify the truth. The battle between Senior Zhao and Old Thief Fu Zhe is just around the corner. As long as Senior gets rid of Old Thief Fu Zhe in a few moves, the madams will certainly believe in Senior's unrivaled cultivation base. Sea Sand Emperor and enlightened being Tao Li said in unison. Seniors, you've misunderstood. We are not his madams. Bei Xiaoman did not need to explain herself, but Yuan Yao and her other 3 daughters immediately lost their composure when they heard the 2 senior immortal emperors addressing them as madams. Each of them had their own thoughts, and began to explain. How would Sea Sand Emperor and enlightened being Tao Li have the mood to chat with the madams? After the group of Zhao Jian's believers hurriedly escorted Yuan Yao and the others out of the vicinity of the Stone Room Mountain, they spread out their spirit sense to observe the battle between Ning Fan and True Lord Fu Zhe. Many of them were even moved to tears as they watched this earth-shattering battle between quasi-saints. What moved them was not the battle itself, but Ning Fan's determination to get rid of the scourge for the northern heaven despite going against the law of the heavens. Revered Qi had harmed countless female cultivators of the northern heaven in his life. He could be considered as a small scourge of the northern heaven. True Lord Fu Zhe had schemed against countless powerful beings of the northern heaven in his life. He could be considered as a great scourge of the northern heaven. Senior's killing on the street certainly violated the law of the heavens and tarnished his reputation. However, Senior did not kill for his own selfish reasons. Instead, he wanted to uphold justice and get rid of the 2 scourges for the northern heaven. What an awe-inspiring righteousness that was. How upright and outspoken he was. Chivalrous people use martial arts to violate the law. However, the greatest chivalrous person is none other than killing the scourge for the heavens. No matter how high the cultivation level of the people in the world is, they are only worthy of being called cultivators. Only Senior can be called a true immortal hero. In the blink of an eye, the entire Stone Room Mountain was cleared. It had become the battlefield for Ning Fan and True Lord Fu Zhe. Ning Fan felt very ashamed. Initially, with his help, Xiaoman could have won first place in the second round. However, he insisted on killing in a fit of rage. As a result, he ruined the chess battle of the Stone Room Mountain. How many times had he killed someone without caring about the situation? Fine. Since things have come to this, I will apologize to Xiaoman after I kill True Lord Fu Zhe. What an arrogant kid. How dare you think about other things while facing a quasi-saint like me? Could it be that you really think that you are a great cultivator from the ancient times? Ah. Ridiculous. Extremely ridiculous. Urgent as the command, mirror of truth, quickly reveal yourself. Show me all of his disguises and let him reveal his true self in front of the world. As True Lord Fu Zhe gave his order, the bronze mirror that was as tall as half a mountain immediately shone with dazzling light of fortune. It was a low-grade innate magic treasure. Even though it was just a low-grade innate magic treasure, it had an extremely sinister ability, which was to reflect the true appearance of the enemy. Through attacking the true reflection of the enemy in the mirror, it would cause great damage to the enemy. If it is a quasi-saint of the northern heaven who was familiar with true Lord Fuzai's background, he certainly would not be willing to be reflected by this mirror, and would avoid it. However, Ningfan did not know the background of this mirror. Thus, he was helplessly reflected by it. All of a sudden, Ningfan's true image appeared in the mirror. Unlike ordinary people who could only show one type of reflection in the mirror, Ningfan could actually show two types of reflection. The first reflection was a golden deity who was stepping on the corpses of many quasi-saints and immortal emperors. As for the corpses of those who were weaker, they had already turned into mountains of corpses and seas of blood. It was enough to show how many living beings this golden deity had killed in his life. The second reflection was just a young devil cultivator at the vein opening realm. However, this young man was even scarier. He was stepping on the heads of more than 10 quasi-saints. Behind him, there was an entire mid-grade immortal country that had turned into a river of blood. Strange. Why does this young man have two types of true reflections? Moreover, each of them is more ridiculous than the previous one. True Lord Fuzai was extremely displeased. It was because his mirror of truth had actually made a rare mistake. How could this young man possess two types of true reflections? How could he kill so many quasi-saint immortal emperors? It was even more impossible for him to kill more than 10 quasi-saints with his vein-opening realm devil body, because there were no saints in the era of Dharma ending at all. Moreover, Ningfan was not an ancient cultivator. Therefore, he was sure that all of these true reflections were wrong. None of them could be trusted. Fine. Since the mirror has made a mistake, I won't use it to attack this young man. Let's change to another treasure. The mournful death puppets. Show yourselves now. True Lord Fuzai kept his treasure mirror, and took out two puppets with strange appearances. Then he tossed them into the air. The puppets grew in the wind, and turned into two clay puppets that were filled with death chi. Both of them had the appearance of a child. As soon as they returned to their original forms, they immediately clapped their hands and sang an eerie nursery rhyme. These nursery rhymes were actually curses that could be used to curse the enemy to death. Otherwise, why would true Lord Fuzai be known as the scourge of the northern heaven? Among the techniques that he used, there was not a single righteous one. All of them were evil methods that were used to harm people. Moreover, evil methods were usually the hardest to guard against, and they were the easiest to injure. Curse technique, huh? Green light flashed across Ningfan's eyes. He saw through the background of the two mournful death puppets. These two puppets were just two puppets with weak strength. However, due to the fact that they were cursed, they possess great power and should not be underestimated. He could even tell that these puppets had a trace of karmic connection with the ancestral emperor of the northern heaven, Mournful Death Great Emperor. There seemed to be other karmic connections between these puppets as well. However, they had long been buried in the river of samsara, and could no longer be seen clearly. These puppets should have once belonged to Mournful Death Great Emperor. However, after his death, they had passed through many hands and ended up in the hands of true Lord Fuzai. Ningfan was not afraid of curses. The so-called curse was actually a type of karmic attack. As long as he could isolate the karmic connection, he would not be harmed at all. If he was cursed by someone whose cultivation base was higher than his, it would not be easy for him to deal with it. However, true Lord Fuzai was just a quasi-saint realm expert with 12,000 tribulation magic power. It would be as difficult as ascending to heaven for a quasi-saint realm expert like him to curse Ningfan. Originally, Ningfan had full confidence that he would not be affected by the mournful death puppets. However, as soon as the mournful death puppets sang the nursery rhyme, he could not help but be affected. It was not because the two puppets' curses were powerful. It was because the nursery rhyme that the two puppets sang was too unimaginable. Ningfan could not help but want to listen to it. You clap once and I clap once. Butterflies fly 90,000 li away. You clap two and I clap two. Girls cut their pigtails in front of Buddha. You clap three and I clap three. Gong Gong knocks down Mount Bujo. You clap for and I clap for. Duanhua's soul breaks in Skunda Temple. You clap 5 and I clap 5. 5 spirits chessboard devil suppressing bone. You clap 6 and I clap 6. Sword ancestor loses his life in proud coming cave. You clap 7 and I clap 7. The divine tree awakens and Saint Defier is alarmed. You clap 8 and I clap 8. When the flower blooms, there will be no more flowers. You clap 9 and I clap 9. When the defying fan is enraged, the heavens decays. You clap 10 and I clap 10. Blue sky and yellow springs don't know each other. As the nursery rhyme entered his ears, Ning Fan's eyes became blank. After that, he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His primordial spirit was injured by the curse. It was not because the curse was powerful. It was the choice he made himself. If he wanted to listen to the entire nursery rhyme, he would have to bear the curse and pay the price. It was just a small price. Ning Fan did not care about it at all. With his immense blood and qi, the injury he suffered just now was just like losing a hair from 9 bulls. It was insignificant. However, his heart could no longer remain calm the moment the nursery rhyme resounded. Although he could not understand every single one of the nursery rhymes, he was extremely concerned about a few of them. The butterfly flies 90,000 li. Could it be that the butterfly is referring to him? Or perhaps it is referring to something else. The sword ancestor lost his life in Proud Coming Cave. He did not know where Proud Coming Cave was, but he could understand the 2 words sword ancestor. He also understood the meaning of the word, lost his life. When Ni Fan is enraged, the heavens decays. It was also not the first time he heard the name Ni Fan. Blue sky and yellow springs don't know each other. The moment he heard this sentence, another voice appeared in Ning Fan's mind for some reason. I can't find you. Why can't I find you no matter where I go? I've searched all the flowers in the mortal world. Every single one of them looks like you, but none of them are you. Ning Fan felt a sense of sorrow that came from the vicissitudes of life. Moreover, he felt a bone-piercing pain. Seeing Ning Fan coughing out blood, True Lord Fuzai's face instantly revealed a look of disdain. He was even more convinced that Ning Fan was just an immortal King Realm Jr. If Ning Fan is really an ancient great cultivator, how could he be injured by such insignificant tricks? Weak. He's really too weak. Mourn death puppets, increase the curse and eliminate this immortal King Realm ant for me. Hiss. What's going on? Mourn for the dead puppet. It is urgent as the law commands. Quickly obey this monarch's command. Impossible. The mourn death puppets actually failed. Hiss. This is the Black Moon. Under True Lord Fuzai's incredulous gaze, Ning Fan just waved his finger, and the 2 puppets lost control and flew towards Ning Fan. At the same time, the symbol of the Black Moon appeared on the heads of the 2 puppets. That was the sign that they were hit by the ancestral emperor's mourn death technique. The mourn death technique was unsolvable in the world. If you see the Black Moon, you will be destroyed. This kind of method could only be used to deal with puppets that were comparatively weaker. Since these 2 puppets weren't high-level puppets, it was easily effective and could be directly captured. You. Who exactly are you? Why do you know the ancestral emperor's mourn death technique? True Lord Fuzai was shocked and enraged. Why do I need to answer you? Who do you think you are? Ning Fan casually kept the 2 puppets into his storage pouch. When he looked at True Lord Fuzai again, it was as if he was looking at a dead man. His eyes were filled with unprecedented killing intent. However, that killing intent was not really because of True Lord Fuzai. Instead, it was because of that strange nursery rhyme. It could only be said that True Lord Fuzai was unlucky to have bumped into Ning Fan's most unpleasant moment. That nursery rhyme seemed to be referring to something, but Ning Fan could not understand it at all. Even though he could not understand it, his heart was filled with sadness and anger along with the nursery rhyme. When he was sad, he wished that he could destroy his own Tao. When he was angry, he wished that he could overturn the heavens and trample on everything. How dare you insult me? True Lord Fuzai was enraged. He, a dignified quasi-sage realm expert, was actually insulted by Ning Fan. How could he still have his face? He wanted to kill Ning Fan to vent his anger. Thus, he raised his hand and summoned 4 low-grade innate black lotuses. He did not know what kind of treasure these black lotuses were. When the 4 lotuses merged into one, their aura force was actually not any weaker than a mid-grade innate magic treasure. However, they were not real mid-grade magic treasures after all. Ningfan ignored the 4 black lotuses. He patted his storage pouch and took out the true martial broken sword that was in the form of a turtle and a snake. However, with a flash of cold light, the 4 black lotuses were actually chopped into powder in a single move. The destructive power of the true martial broken sword was just too ferocious. It was a supreme treasure that could fight against high-grade innate magic treasures. It was not something that an ordinary quasi-sage realm expert could possess. It's actually a high-grade innate sword. True Lord Fuzai's eyes flashed with fear for a moment, but it was immediately filled with greed. The destructive power of this sword was certainly terrifying, but it also depended on who was using it. If a quasi-sage realm expert of the same level as him was using this sword, no, even if it was just a half-saint realm expert using this sword, True Lord Fuzai would not dare to face it head-on. Otherwise, he would definitely suffer a great loss. However, the person who used this sword was just a junior Immortal King realm expert. He was 10,000% sure that Ningfan was just at the Immortal King realm. Hence, no matter how much magic power Ningfan had, it was not enough to make him feel afraid. However, once he kills Ningfan, this treasure, which was comparable to high-grade innate magic treasures, would belong to him. In the future, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the Northern Heaven. I really didn't expect it. I really didn't expect that a mere immortal king like you could actually force me to reveal my eternal true body. Even if you die here today, you can be proud of yourself. True body of Fuzai appear. True Lord Fuzai revealed his true body and turned into a fat giant that was 100 jong tall. His chi surged to the 1,000 tribulation realm. The giant had a long beard. He wore an official hat on his head and a robe that was embroidered with a python and a jade belt. He held a jade scepter in his left hand and a long scroll in his right hand. The 4 words Heavenly Official's Blessing were written on the scroll. Be it the jade scepter or the long scroll, both of them were actually mid-grade innate magic treasures. They were really powerful. Little ant, what qualifications do you have to fight against me? I have the God of Fortune scepter, which allows me to absorb all the blessings in the world to attack you. As for defense, I have the Heavenly Official's long scroll. As long as the blessings are endless, I can be immortal, and I won't even be affected by the heavenly tribulation. The blessings that I have collected in my life are endless. Even a second-level quasi-sage realm cultivator can't kill me. How dare you provoke me? You really deserve to die. True Lord Fuzai raised his hand and struck the God of Fortune scepter. All of a sudden, the blessings in the world seemed to be attracted to the scepter. They turned into countless giant shadows of the scepter and fell on him. If you are a blessing, then I am a curse. Ningfan's devil eyes flashed. Monstrous baleful chi was released from his body. He actually managed to block the attack of True Lord Fuzai's endless blessings with just his baleful chi. What kind of baleful chi was that? He had killed immortal emperors and quasi-sages before. Moreover, he had killed more than one person. Could this bastard be a devil lord who walked out from the Devil Conferral Summit? Otherwise, how could he possibly have such terrifying baleful chi? True Lord Fuzai's God of Fortune scepter could not hurt Ningfan at all. He cultivated the Tao of Fortune. In order to nurture his blessings, he must avoid weapons, disasters, devils and the mortal world. Once he is tainted by filth, he would damage his own blessings. Coincidentally, a devil lord like Ningfan was his greatest nemesis. Even though Ningfan's cultivation base was not as strong as him, he could still defeat him with his restraint. Now, however, not only was Ningfan's magic power far superior to his, but his magic treasures were also far superior. If Ningfan's devil sense was also able to restrain his blessings, killing True Lord Fuzai today would definitely not be any harder than killing a half-step saint. 1 sword. 10 swords. 100 swords. Ningfan repeatedly summoned the broken true martial sword. Even though True Lord Fuzai had endless blessings, he could only withstand the attacks of the broken sword. He barely managed to defend himself with the long scroll of the Heavenly Official. He did not have the time to counterattack at all. Every time he blocked an attack from the broken sword, the ink characters on the long scroll would become a little dimmer. After 100 swords, the ink characters on the long scroll had completely disappeared. True Lord Fuzhe no longer had any means to block Ning Fan's attacks. All he could do was to directly neutralize Ning Fan's attacks with his endless blessings. In this way, every time Ning Fan attacked, True Lord Fuzhe's blessings would be cut off by a few feet. His blessings were getting lesser and lesser. After another few hundred swords, Ning Fan finally destroyed all of True Lord Fuzhe's blessings. The broken sword of the true martial sword fell from the sky. Not good. At this moment, True Lord Fuzhe was already scared out of his wits by Ning Fan. How could he still have the courage to fight Ning Fan? He wanted to run away, but Ning Fan directly fixed him on the spot with a finger-pointing heavenly technique. After that, he struck the broken sword of the true martial sword and one of his arms was cut off. This knave actually knows the Eastern Heaven ancestral technique. He actually obtained the ancestral techniques of 2 heavens at the same time. True Lord Fuzhe's expression was terrifyingly ugly. Since Ning Fan knew the heaven sealing technique, it was almost impossible for him to escape from this place without Ning Fan's permission. What was worse was that he discovered to his horror that his arm that was cut off by Ning Fan could not be reconstructed. It was as if he had lost it forever. The wound that could not be healed was just like the eternal crack in the starry sky that Ning Fan created earlier. The heavenly Tao has wronged me. The heavenly Tao has wronged me. Why did you tell me that this young man is just an immortal king realm junior? Perhaps he really has the cultivation base of an immortal king realm, but he is much scarier than many second-level quasi-saints. Fellow Taoist, please calm down. No, I am willing to compensate you for all the offenses I have committed today. Please be magnanimous and spare me this time. True Lord Fuzhe finally gave in. However, Ning Fan did not care about him at all. His creed in life was to eliminate all his enemies once and for all. Once he lets a scourge like True Lord Fuzhe go, it would be the same as letting a tiger return to the mountain. The safest way was to eliminate the root of the problem. Since today's matter had already gotten out of hand, he might as well go all out and establish his devil might in the Lost World Palace for once. He wanted to make everyone in the Lost World Palace not dare to look down on Yuan Yao and Xiaoman anymore. He wanted to make everyone who had schemed against Yuan Yao and Xiaoman pay the price. 5 yin-yang swords go. Ning Fan slashed the broken true martial sword again. However, this time, he did not simply release the power of his magic treasure. Instead, he used the ultimate technique from ancient chaos inheritance. Different from before, the current him truly had the channel to cultivate the yin and yang qi. Thus, the 5 yin-yang swords that he used seemed to have been infused with the power of 2 lifetimes. Its power was far greater than before. Heavenly sword severing luck. Earth sword severing momentum. Human sword severing life. Divine sword severing Tao. Ghost sword severing thought. The 5 yin-yang swords could cut through anything. True Lord Fuzhe used all his defenses. However, all of them were useless in front of the 5 yin-yang swords. All the fat on his body was cut off by the 5 yin-yang swords, leaving only his skeleton. His cultivation had been reduced by the 5 swords of yin and yang. His cultivation level had dropped from the sage to be to the vein opening realm, and finally to immortal. His sea of consciousness was shattered by the 5 yin-yang swords. His will was shattered and his Tao sense was scattered everywhere. The death of a human was like the extinguishing of a lamp. The reincarnation would be blown away and reignited. The death of an immortal was like the scattering of his Tao sense. The death of an immortal was actually not a true death. It was just the dissipation of his Tao sense. However, at this moment, Ning Fan's 5 yin-yang swords actually wanted to kill another level of True Lord Fuzhe on the basis of the dissipation of his Tao sense. In this way, it would truly create the 3rd step of death, the destruction of the Tao. It was not the direct dissipation of the Tao sense. Instead, after the Tao sense was extinguished, it would return to where it came from. In this way, the reincarnation cycle of this person would start anew. Even if he had the chance to be reincarnated again, he would not be able to reincarnate along the path of the Great Circle to this moment. Detestable. The fuse of a nobleman should be killed in 5 lifetimes. If it wasn't because of your powerful means that prevented my fortune from being reborn, I would certainly be able to obtain 5 chances to be reborn. True monarch Fukuzawa breathed his last breath with endless regret. If the person he encountered was not Ning Fan, he would still have 5 lives even if he was killed by a second-step true lord. However, the person he encountered was Ning Fan. What he suffered was the death of a third-step true lord. Killing 5 lifetimes was useless. Even though Ning Fan and True Lord Fu Zhe only managed to kill him after exchanging more than 1,000 sword strikes, one should know that Ning Fan's speed was extremely fast. Even though the broken true martial sword consumed a lot of magic power and was not easy to control, Ning Fan had a high level of rapport with it. It was still very easy for him to slash 10 to 20 times in one breath. This meant that Ning Fan only used less than 100 breaths to kill True Lord Fu Zhe from the moment he made his first slash. 100 breaths. In the true sense, he killed a quasi-sage realm expert, preventing him from escaping or being reborn. How powerful was that? The only pity was that Ning Fan did not refine True Lord Fu Zhe into a mid-grade gourd blood spirit in order to truly kill him instead of giving him a chance to escape when he was at the 5th slash. He did not even use True Lord Fu Zhe to refine the 10,000 spirit blood. Instead, he directly slashed True Lord Fu Zhe into nothingness, leaving nothing behind. Since he did not have enough living sacrifices, he did not even try to refine an undying ghost soldier. Fortunately, he obtained True Lord Fu Zhe's storage pouch, which was filled with sinister treasures. Thus, he did not come out empty-handed. He won. Senior Zhao has gotten rid of a great threat to our eastern heaven. He killed old thief Fu Zhe, killing a quasi-sage realm expert in 100 breaths. Moreover, old thief Fu Zhe did not even have the time to use the killing 5 lifetimes that he relied on to save his life. This is a true death. Senior's means are incredible. Is this the means of an ancient great cultivator? That treasured sword is really powerful. It is comparable to a high-grade innate magic treasure. Sure enough, only a peak existence like Senior is worthy of using such a precious treasure. On the surface of the sea near the Stone Room Mountain, exclamations could be heard from all directions. Countless immortal cultivators were affected by the great battle between quasi-saints that could easily crush their stomachs. Some of Zhao Jian's followers even flocked to Ning Fan's side and asked him questions excitedly. Senior, please tell us what exactly is your motive for killing True Lord Fu Zhe and his disciple? Ning Fan decided to answer this question truthfully. For a moment of personal vengeance. That's right. He killed venerated Chess because of his personal vengeance. Then he killed True Lord Fu Zhe to vent his anger and eliminate the root of the problem. The reason he used to kill someone was definitely not considered as lofty and noble. Ning Fan thought to himself. This time he had already killed someone to vent his anger in front of everyone. He shouldn't be regarded as a moral role model anymore, right? However, he was wrong. When a person worships you as an idol, even if you are just defecating in the fields, others will still think that you are doing a good deed and fertilizing others. Senior really has a noble character and unquestionable integrity. You must be unwilling to accept the good reputation of punishing evil and promoting good. So you purposely made up a reason. Senior is kind-hearted, righteous and resolute. You hate evil as if it's your mortal enemy. However, you are also courageous and meticulous. You have a firm will and are as noble as the clouds. How many virtuous people have existed since the ancient times? You are the best in the entire Quanzhen sect. Senior's voice and face are long gone. Your name will be immortalized for 100 generations. Your spirit will never die, and your demeanor will remain forever. Your soul will ride on a crane and your righteousness will come along with the wind. Good conduct and virtue will last for 1,000 years, and your noble character will last for 10,000 years. Bastard! Who was the one who praised Senior with the elegiac couplet just now? Come out now. Let's see if I can't cut you to death. Looking at the immortal cultivators of the northern heaven who were quarreling with each other, and praising him sincerely, Ning Fan felt extremely awkward. Does he really have to continue being a true lord of virtue and virtue? Even killing someone is not enough to change the ridiculous opinion others have of him? He If Old Devil knows that not only did he fail to promote the evil name of the Black Devil sect, but he has also become the #1 moral role model of the Northern Heaven, I'm afraid he will probably give him a good scolding. Chapter 1235. The death of a quasi-saint was no trivial matter, let alone a person with great fortune like true Lord Fuzhe. In this battle, Ning Fan destroyed the immeasurable fortune that true Lord Fuzhe had painstakingly cultivated for his entire life. After the battle, the vast fortune scattered all over heaven and earth. Without a master to rely on, it had no choice but to turn into golden light that filled the sky, drifting everywhere. Unfortunately, these fortune blended with the baleful chi of the fallen quasi-saint. Among the golden light spots, there was a blood-red light surrounding them. In that case, how would ordinary cultivators dare to absorb and refine these fortune? Thus they simply ignored it. Countless cultivators rushed back to the Stone Room Mountain, shouting true Lord Daoda is invincible, and long live Senior Zhao. They were all praising Ning Fan's action of killing true Lord Fuzhe and his disciple. Ning Fan was too lazy to care about those fanatical cheers. Compared to spreading his reputation far and wide, he was more interested in the boundless fortune. With his devil cultivation base, why would he be afraid of some quasi-saint baleful chi? Instead of letting these fortune dissipate completely, he might as well devour these fortune for his own use. What is fortune? The concept of fortune seemed very close to luck, but it was actually very different. Those with good luck could obtain great opportunities frequently. For example, when someone suddenly picked up 10 billion Dao crystals while walking on the road, it was luck. When he turned around, he would encounter bandits who killed him and robbed him of his treasures. It was poor luck and he would not be able to enjoy these windfalls. Those with good luck, on the other hand, were different. Those with good luck could have good luck, but those with bad luck could also have good luck. The quality of one's luck was enough to affect one's gains and losses. As for something like fortune, it had nothing to do with gains and losses most of the time. There was an ancient saying that misfortune could be a blessing in disguise. Luck could pave a path for you while fortune could allow you to have a good end at the end of the path. The two of them were actually complementary. When combined, they formed a perfect circle. This circle was called good beginning, good end. Of course, it did not mean that you would definitely have a good end if you had good luck. It just meant that you would have more chances to have a good end compared to ordinary people. If you think that you have immeasurable fortune and insist on provoking karma that you should not provoke, damaging your fortune, you would still die the way you deserve. Because of this, since ancient times, the more blessed a person was, the more they liked to seek good fortune and avoid calamity, and to be kind to others. People like true Lord Fuzawa, who was blessed and loved to cause trouble, were rare exceptions, and deserved to die. Fate is like an umbrella. It can block the wind and rain, but it might not be able to block all the wind and rain. If I insist on walking in the rain and defy the heavens, my clothes will still be wet. Fortune is different. Fortune is like fire. It's a fire that can dry the moisture on my body. Even if I accidentally get wet in the rain, as long as the fire is warm enough, it can still dry the rain. Ning Fan muttered to himself. Seeing that no one was willing to absorb the fortune that filled the sky, he simply sat down with his legs crossed, and began to absorb the fortune, as if there was no one else around him. Of course, the quasi-sage baleful chi mixed in the blessing was also sucked away without leaving a trace. Seeing Ning Fan devouring the baleful chi of a quasi-saint realm expert without panting or flushing, the cultivators of the Northern Heaven were shocked once again. Not only were they shocked by Ning Fan's profound cultivation base, but they were also shocked by his noble character. In the Northern Heaven, there might be other people who could kill true monarch Fuzhe. However, I'm afraid it's hard to find a second person who dares to directly devour the baleful chi of a quasi-sage realm expert like Senior Zhao. Baleful chi damages one's Dao heart and taints one's luck and fortune. Even if those second-level quasi-sages were lucky enough to kill true monarch Fuzhe, they would probably need to cultivate diligently for thousands of years before they could carefully erase the baleful chi that tainted their bodies. Even those ancient great devils at the peak devil conferral realm, who cultivate by relying on baleful chi, would probably not dare to face baleful chi directly. Since Senior Zhao is able to do this, it's not an exaggeration to say that he has extraordinary means. That was the conclusion that the cultivators who were slightly more rational came to. The baleful qi in the place where a quasi-sage realm expert died will remain for at least 1,000 years. If no one absorbs the baleful qi that fills the sky, the primordial force of heaven and earth in the sea of time will probably be tainted for 1,000 years. During that period of time, how would the cultivators of the Lost World Palace dare to cultivate? In order to return the clear sky to the sea of time, Senior Zhao did not hesitate to be tainted by the mortal world. He sacrificed his body to nurture baleful qi and absorb the baleful qi that fills the sky. What a noble sentiment! It's too dazzling. The brilliance of Senior Zhao's personality is really too dazzling. Those were the words of Zhao Jian's followers who had been brainwashed. All of you, that's enough. Ning Fan really could not be bothered to listen to the flattering voices around him anymore. Thus, he simply blocked most of the noises from the outside world and shut his spirit sense. A cultivator's spirit sense would either be stored inside his body or stored outside his body. At this moment, Ning Fan withdrew all of his spirit sense that he had spread to the outside world. There were advantages and disadvantages to it. The advantage was that he successfully blocked the flattering voices of the outside world. The disadvantage was that the voice of the Ant Lord in the depths of his mind had instantly become countless times louder. It was so loud that Ning Fan could no longer ignore it. That's right. Ning Fan had been blocking his inner sense most of the time to prevent himself from hearing the quarrel between the Ant Lord and Little Dust Yinji. However, this time, compared to listening to their flattery, he would rather listen to the boring quarrel between the two women. The Ant Lord said, I have to remind you for the 10,752 time that my master, Ancestor Hongjun, is the strongest cultivator in the world. Little Dust Yinji said, I have to deny your opinion for the 10,753 time. Enlighten me, Elder Brother Tyr is the strongest cultivator in the world. Little Cat Black Devil said, I have to deny your opinion for the 566th time. I don't know any Hongjun or Elder Brother Tyr. In my heart, my master, Ning Fan, is the strongest cultivator in the world. Why is there another voice arguing in my sea of consciousness? It's actually Little Cat Black Devil's voice. Ning Fan was speechless. Since he had been blocking his inner sense most of the time, he did not know when Black Devil had also joined the boring quarrel between the Ant Lord and Yinji. Even though the Black Devil race was staying in the profound Yin world, they could directly talk to Ning Fan in his sea of consciousness through the mental connection. The profound Yin world was inside Ning Fan's body in the first place, and there was a connection between them. Therefore, it was not difficult for Black Devil to do this. Moreover, it was something that Ning Fan had tacitly agreed to. In the past, when Ning Fan was still weak, he might encounter a powerful enemy at any time and needed Black Devil's help. Thus, it was very necessary for him to maintain a certain degree of mental connection with Black Devil. However, he did not expect that one day, Black Devil would make the decision to chat with the Ant Lord and Yinji in Ning Fan's sea of consciousness through this mental connection. Ning Fan's sea of consciousness had actually become the chat room of 3 women. Thinking about it, it was really funny. Be quiet for a while. I'm absorbing the fortune of heaven and earth. Your voices are too noisy and it's affecting my cultivation, Ning Fan said with displeasure. I'm sorry, Master. Black Devil has disturbed Master's cultivation. I deserve 1,000 deaths. Master, please punish me. Black Devil blamed himself endlessly and apologized with a serious expression. There's no need to punish me. You just need to be quiet for a while. Ning Fan sighed. Little Kitty Air was good in every aspect, but she was just too rigid and had too much of a sense of hierarchy. Black Devil will obey Master's order without any hesitation. The first woman became quiet obediently. I'm sorry, Master. Yinji will shut up right now. After Master is done with your cultivation, you can quarrel with that stinky ant. Even though the faceless giant who enlightened her with a drop of tear was the most important person in Yinji's heart, she still treated Ning Fan as her master just like Black Devil. Thus, she was still very obedient to Ning Fan's orders. Thus, the second woman also became quiet obediently. Humph. I'm a dignified saint. Why should I listen to your orders? If you ask me to be quiet, I will be quiet. Then, won't I become your slave just like that gray scum in Jiuli? Of course, if you really want to be quiet for a while, I can be merciful and grant you a moment of peace. However, it's definitely not because I'm afraid of you. It's just because I pity you that it's not easy for an ant like you to cultivate. That's why I don't want to disturb you. The ant lord harumphed arrogantly. She was really a little fearful of Ningfan's fiend god aura force. Thus, she purposely said a lot of words in an attempt to conceal the fear in her heart. Unfortunately, her mind was connected to Ningfan's. How could she hide her little thoughts from Ningfan? A dignified saint actually has fear and respect for me. Ningfan was greatly astonished. Previously, when he cultivated the devil spirit, he could faintly feel that the ant lord's attitude towards him had become much more respectful. This time he was really convinced that the ant lord was truly fearful of him. Wait, little Ant Ning, didn't you just say that you're absorbing the fortune of heaven and earth? The ant lord suddenly asked. She was a little concerned about the fact that Ningfan was absorbing the fortune of heaven and earth. Our minds are connected. How can you not know whether I'm absorbing the fortune of heaven and earth or not? Why do you have to ask about it? Ningfan replied. Wasn't I busy quarreling with you just now? Can't I forget about you? All right. Let me search through your memories and see what you've done just now. You've actually killed another quasi-saint realm expert. Moreover, the person you killed was someone with great fortune. It's a pity that I can't judge the quality of the fortune that he scattered to heaven and earth through your blurry memories. However, it's not hard to imagine what level of fortune the cultivators of the illusory world can cultivate. At most, it's just some mediocre fortune. This kind of fortune isn't worth mentioning. Otherwise, I can teach you the method to condense the karma umbrella. Karma umbrella? Ningfan and the ant lord's minds were connected. He only needed to flip through the ant lord's current thoughts to understand what the karma umbrella was. The so-called karma umbrella was actually the final form of the grand umbrella of luck. The 9-colored immortal luck would condense into an umbrella. 9 was the limit of the number. After the 9-colored, there wouldn't be 10 colors. Instead, the grand umbrella of luck would evolve into the karma umbrella. Normally, only sages could condense the karma umbrella. However, there were also some people who could condense the karma umbrella at the second step and use it to resist the immeasurable tribulations to become a sage realm expert. As a sage realm expert, the ant lord certainly knew the method to condense the karma umbrella in advance. The karma umbrella could even resist the immeasurable tribulations of becoming a sage realm expert. From this, one could tell how strong its defense was. It was Ningfan's first time hearing about this item. If he could successfully condense this item, it would be a wonderful thing. The problem was that he did not have a good relationship with the ant lord. Even though the ant lord respected him, it was impossible for her to take the initiative to express her goodwill and help him condense the karma umbrella. The ant lord certainly had her own purpose. Either she was doing this with the intention of harming him, or she was also doing this to benefit herself. You and I are connected. I won't hide this from you. Helping you condense the karma umbrella is indeed very beneficial to me. If I, a sage realm expert, help others to achieve merit, I can extract a certain amount of the merit power from the other party and turn it into my own. If you can condense the karma umbrella with my help, I can at least take a third of the merit power from your umbrella and inject it into my own umbrella. This is a win-win situation. Of course, I don't mind helping you. Unfortunately, the prerequisite of the secret technique I know about the karma umbrella is to have a relatively high quality and quantity of good fortune. When I heard you talking about absorbing the good fortune of heaven and earth, I thought of the karma umbrella. Unfortunately, the ant lord felt that it was a pity. She wanted to help Ningfan condense the karma umbrella and get a share of the good fortune from it. Unfortunately, the world Ningfan was in was the illusory dream world. How could it be so easy to find good fortune that was above average to condense the karma umbrella? Even though she respected Ningfan, she still felt disgusted with him. If she could extract some of the merit power from Ningfan's umbrella, it would be the same as taking advantage of him. She could not kill Ningfan, and she did not dare to insult him. Now, she could only find an opportunity to take advantage of him to comfort herself. I see. Ning Fan, on the other hand, did not mind being taken advantage of by the Ant Lord. If the Ant Lord could really help him condense the karma umbrella, even if the Ant Lord would take a share of the good fortune, he would still be the one who would benefit the most. He shared the same thoughts as the Ant Lord. Thus, he could see the secret technique that the Ant Lord was thinking about. It was the karma umbrella secret technique that was passed down from generation to generation in the Hongjun sacred sect. According to rumors, before the first Hongjun gained his human form, he was once severely injured by someone in the ancient world. His mountain foundation was broken by that person. After that, he was even severely injured by the world-extinguishing star stream. Due to the bone umbrella that was given to him by his benefactor, he managed to escape from that disaster. When the first Hongjun gained his human form and wanted to look for his benefactor again, he could no longer find her in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. While feeling sad, the first Hongjun created the karma umbrella secret technique. It was to help his descendants to reduce the difficulty of attaining the sage ascension realm. At the same time, he also hoped that his descendants could meet their benefactor again and use the umbrella to show their sincerity when they walk through the endless samsara with the umbrella. In the Hongjun sacred sect, the sages of virtue who had already attained the sage ascension realm could lend the good fortune power of their karma umbrella to second-step cultivators through a secret technique. If the other party could really condense the karma umbrella with his help, 1/3 of the power of the other party's karma umbrella would be forcibly repaid to the user. Of course, if the other party's qualifications were too poor or the materials were insufficient, resulting in the failure of condensing the umbrella, the person who loaned the good fortune power would lose everything, and could only lose the good fortune power of the umbrella in vain. In the Hunkin sacred sect, the person who held the sea-defying sword could be regarded as a superior disciple. In the Hongjun sacred sect, the person who held the Kunlun sword could also be regarded as a superior disciple. In the Hunkin main sea, the Hongjun main mountain, the Hunkin family had entered the Tao from the sea. Correspondingly, the Hongjun family had entered the Tao from the mountain. The Kunlun sword was the Tao weapon passed down by the second Hongjun family. According to legend, the second Hongjun family had swallowed the Kunlun mountain to enter the Tao. But in fact, within the Hongjun sacred sect, there was another weapon that could be used as a symbol of identity, and it represented a higher status than the Kunlun sword. That was the special karma umbrella passed down by the first Hongjun family, the Buzhou umbrella. The person who held the Buzhou umbrella could sit 10 steps away from the Hongjun family's ancestral master and listen to his lecture. Their status was equivalent to the first-generation disciples of the sect, the same as the primordial beginning saint and the heavenly reaching saint. One should know that the closer one sat to the 4th-step Saint Defier's lecture, the greater the benefits one would receive. Listening to a lecture 10 steps away from them was enough to help those saints who were stuck in a bottleneck break through their cultivation base on the spot and advance to the next era of samsara. As for the identity of the first-generation disciple of the Hongjun family, it was even more prestigious than ordinary saints. Buzhou umbrella, huh? This isn't the first time I've heard of the word Buzhou. Is it a coincidence? The first time he heard of the word Buzhou was when he heard the name of the Thunder Emperor Buzhou Hongyi. The second time he heard of the word Buzhou was when he was forging the sea-defying sword. He obtained a lot of blueprints of the ancient Tao weapons from Old Wu. One of them mentioned the word Buzhou. The Mountain Sea Axe, the barbarian weapon. This axe can be ranked as one of the 66 grade weapons of the sacred sect. However, it lacks the ancient country's wind crystal, the earth material, the Buzhou mountain ridge and the earth giant's tooth. I've spent my entire life trying to forge it. It's a pity. The third time he heard of the word Buzhou was when he obtained a small stone by chance. After talking to it, he found out that the material of the stone was actually the Buzhou mountain ridge. It was an extremely high-grade material for refining weapons. As a result, Ning Fan incorporated this small piece of the Buzhou mountain ridge into the sea-defying sword, causing the structure of the sword to completely deviate from the original blueprint. Its grade was also greatly improved. The fourth time he heard of the word Buzhou was in that strange nursery rhyme. You clap 3, I clap 3, gong gong knocks down the Buzhou mountain. Unknowingly, Ning Fan seemed to have a great karma which coincided with the word Buzhou. When he was still weak, he could not sense the karma within it. Now, however, the higher his cultivation base was, the more he could sense the magnitude of the karma within it. Buzhou umbrella. When he muttered the name of the umbrella again, Ning Fan actually felt a hint of sadness and unfamiliarity for some unknown reason. That feeling of unfamiliarity was the discomfort caused by the wrong time and space of samsara. That kind of sadness and unfamiliarity was like rootless water that came out of nowhere. Ning Fan's thoughts actually started from the Buzhou umbrella, and he thought of a sentence that had nothing to do with it. It was a sentence that he could not hear clearly when he was standing in front of the decaying green lotus of the sword ancestor. Now, however, he actually heard it clearly and recalled that sentence. Have I poured rain on your heart? It's a pity that I can't hold an umbrella for you this time. Did she hold the umbrella for me in one of my reincarnations? If the experience of holding the umbrella is not in the past, then it is in the future. Ning Fan seemed to have understood something, but he still felt like he had not realized it. Without any reason, he actually felt a sense of urgency. He wanted to quickly condense the specially made merit umbrella, called the Buzhou umbrella. Out of nowhere, he suddenly became interested in the story between the Ant Lord and Hong Jun. He wanted to ask why this abominable Ant Lord would be so loyal to her master. That kind of unwavering loyalty was one of the few human traits that the Ant Lord had. How did you meet your master Hong Jun? Hearing Ning Fan asking about her master, the Ant Lord actually blushed, which was rare for her. She said angrily, "Why should I tell you how I met my master? That's my secret." For the first time, she did not address herself as I. Even though she did not tell Ning Fan about her past with Hong Jun, Ning Fan still directly learned about everything from the Ant Lord's mind through the advantage of their telepathic connection. A long time ago, the Ant Lord was not the Ant Lord yet. She was just an ordinary ant on a certain immortal mountain. On that day, this immortal mountain suddenly encountered an immeasurable tribulation. An immeasurable amount of blood rain fell from the sky, and it had the power to destroy the world. At first, the ant thought that it was going to die for sure. However, at this moment, a man in red robes who was holding a bone umbrella suddenly walked out from heaven and earth. That man's face could not be seen clearly. The Ant Lord only remembered that the man carried an unresolvable sorrow. He held the umbrella in one hand, and walked in the immeasurable amount of blood rain while the other hand was holding the head of a divine being of an ancient country. You crashed into my mountain ridge. I can forget about this grudge. However, you injured her fire body and lightning bones. I won't forgive you even if the divine king of an ancient country begged for mercy on your behalf. But where is she now? Who is she? After 900 reincarnations, I couldn't find her no matter where I looked. No matter how hard I tried, I was still at a loss. When I looked back, I realized that I was looking for a flower in a mirror. After another 100 reincarnations, it will be 1,000 reincarnations. If you still don't appear after I've searched for you for 1,000 reincarnations, I will destroy myself in this world and go to the next fourth ring of the heavenly Tao to look for you. It was impossible for ants to understand human language. However, the strange thing was that she could actually hear this person's words. The Ant Lord would never forget that soul-stirring scene for the rest of her life. The person holding the bone umbrella suddenly walked towards her. It was as if the entire world was approaching her. It was as if all the mountains and seas in the world were moving along with this person's movements, matching the rhythm of this person's footsteps. Perhaps that person did not even notice her. He was only holding the umbrella and quietly waiting for the rain to stop. She was hiding under the umbrella, hiding from the endless rain of blood that should have killed her. After the rain stopped, that person immediately left. However, the Ant Lord silently swore in her heart that if one day she could transform into a human and step onto the path of cultivation, she would definitely find the man who held the umbrella for her and use her life to repay him. Even if that person did not remember to save a small ant like her, she would definitely crawl into his life and break her bones for him. She swore that in this life, she would only respect one person. I didn't expect you to be such a sentimental ant. Just because someone else didn't have the heart to save you, you are willing to give up everything and follow him through life and death. I have underestimated you in the past. Unfortunately, you and I are enemies. Otherwise, I would really like your personality. You are a beauty, but why did you become a thief? Ning Fan sighed with emotion. Damn it. How dare you peek at the memory of the first time I met my master? It's fine that you peeked at my memory, but how dare you call my master a thief? I'm going to kill you. The Ant Lord was driven mad. She gnashed her teeth in anger. You want to kill me? Unfortunately, you are now bound to my sea of consciousness. You can't use any of your cultivation base and you can't kill me. Alright, I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. I have to go and see if the fortune of heaven and earth in this world is enough for me to cultivate the merit and virtue umbrella. Ning Fan withdrew his attention and spread his spirit sense. He ignored the flattery from everyone on the Stone Room Mountain and began to examine the fortune that was scattered in the world again. According to the knowledge he obtained from the Ant Lord's memory, in the true world, the fortune that is severed after one lifetime is considered as the low-grade fortune. The fortune that is inherited after one lifetime, but is not enough for 3 lifetimes is considered as the low-grade fortune. The fortune that is inherited after 3 lifetimes, but is not enough for 10 lifetimes is considered as the middle-grade fortune. The fortune that is inherited after 10 lifetimes, but is not enough for 100 lifetimes is considered as the top-grade fortune. I remember that true Lord Fuze mentioned that he severed after 5 lifetimes before he died. Could it be that his fortune is the middle-grade fortune that is inherited after 5 lifetimes? If that's the case, this fortune is enough to condense the merit and virtue umbrella. Ning Fan tried a few times, but helplessly realized that the level of his spirit sense was far from enough to identify the level of the fortune. Since his spirit sense could not sense anything, he might as well talk to the fortune directly. Tell me the level of your fortune. Ning Fan said indifferently. Communicating with nature. This is communicating with nature. Senior Zhao is actually communicating with heaven and earth itself. What kind of extraordinary ability is this? More flattering voices could be heard. It's the same thing again. Just now he was chatting with the flowers and grass in the Chu clan. Now he is actually chatting with the fortune. Beishir's cheeks flushed. Previously, when she was in the Chu clan, she had already seen Ning Fan conversing with the flowers and grass. She once thought that Ning Fan had gone mad. Only now did she know that Ning Fan was an ancient great cultivator, who possessed supreme cultivation base. Since he was an ancient great cultivator, how could he possibly be a lunatic? She actually misunderstood Ning Fan. She was really too stupid. 5 lifetimes. 5 lifetimes. This was the answer of the fortune that only Ning Fan could hear. As expected, the fortune in this place is enough to cultivate the merit and virtue umbrella. If that's the case, Ning Fan hesitated for a moment. All of a sudden, he raised his hand and used his supreme magic power to produce a strong gust of wind, blowing everyone around the Stone Room Mountain away from this place. This included Yuan Yao and her daughter, as well as Ocean Sand Grand Emperor and the others. He didn't want anyone to stay in the vicinity of Shirshir Mountain, because the process of condensing the karmic umbrella was filled with a huge commotion. Those who did not have sufficient cultivation base to stay here and watch would be equivalent to sending themselves to death. In order to condense the merit and virtue umbrella using the ethereal umbrella technique, I need to prepare 3 materials. The luck umbrella that has at least 7 colors of immortal luck, a large amount of fortune of mid-grade grade and above, and an innate grade umbrella type magic treasure that can act as the body of the umbrella. Even though my luck umbrella has yet to attain the 8th color, it is still barely enough for me to cultivate the merit and virtue umbrella. Besides, the fortune in this place is also sufficient. As for the material that can act as the body of the umbrella, I happen to have one with me. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out the mid-grade innate heaven battling jade umbrella. This was the inherited supreme treasure that the water sect had been searching for many years. It was the Rainmaster's titled weapon. Rumor has it that once one successfully cultivates the titled weapon of the Rainmaster, one would be able to use this umbrella to activate some kind of powerful divine ability. However, no matter how powerful a titled divine ability is, could it be more powerful than the merit and virtue umbrella? The merit and virtue umbrella could be used for defense against the great tribulation of ascension to sainthood. The immeasurable tribulation. This was a supreme treasure that could help one attain the sainthood through virtue. Once he successfully cultivates it, basically no one at the second step of the heavenly Tao realm would be able to hurt him with their attacks. If a second-level quasi-saint realm expert could not break the defense of Ning Fan's merit umbrella, the same goes for ancient great cultivators. Unless it is an ancient great cultivator at the same level as the chaotic ancient land, no one could break the defense of his merit umbrella. With the heavenly cycle merit around him, his defense wasn't just for show. Only saint-level attacks could break through it. Heaven battling Jade Umbrella. Are you willing to become the umbrella body of my merit umbrella and bear my lifetime's luck and virtue? Ning Fan actually started chatting with the heaven battling Jade Umbrella. Of course, the reason why Ning Fan was chatting with the heaven battling Jade Umbrella was because he was worried that the heaven battling Jade Umbrella was unwilling to become the umbrella's body. If this magic treasure rejects this matter, the success rate of condensing the karma umbrella would drop significantly. Then Ning Fan would have no choice but to look for other umbrella-type magic treasures to become the umbrella's body. Yes, I'm willing. The heaven battling Jade Umbrella's tone was very cheerful. It seemed to have also realized that becoming Ning Fan's umbrella body of virtue would be a great opportunity. Thus, it did not have any reluctance towards this matter. Instead, it was looking forward to it. That was because this was not equivalent to destruction, but a sublimation of existence. It would become a treasure that surpassed the second step. If that's the case, I, Ning Fan, command the blessings of heaven and earth to enter my umbrella. Zhou Tian's fate. Enter my umbrella. At the moment when Ning Fan started to refine the umbrella, two people within the 4 days seemed to have sensed something, and their expressions changed drastically. One of them was the sect master of the water sect, True Monarch Northern Sea. He was visiting his friends in the famous mountains of the Northern Heaven, trying to find helpers to deal with Ning Fan and take back the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically. Crazy! Crazy! You actually want to destroy the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella before I seek revenge on you. You want to destroy the supreme treasure of my water sect. You're courting death. You're courting death. True Monarch Northern Sea was enraged. He could not tolerate Ning Fan's action of destroying the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella. He wanted to take action immediately and stop Ning Fan at all costs. In the southern heaven, the great Emperor Luck-wielding was in secluded cultivation, absorbing the fate of heaven and earth into his body. He could vaguely feel that he was already close to breaking through the final barrier between the source of Tao arts and the Tao orthodoxy. What he lacked was just the accumulation of time. As long as the total amount of fate in heaven and earth doesn't decrease drastically, I have the confidence to completely step into the realm of the Tao orthodoxy of the lineage of Qi within 100 years. The Tao orthodoxy can fight against saints. If I cultivate to such a realm, who among the 9 great purple mountains, for great seas and 4 great seas of demons would be my match? So what if ancient chaos comes back to life? The withered bones in the grave won't last for more than a few years. How can they be a match for my Tao orthodoxy? So what if there's a great devil on the Devil Conferral Peak? I can kill them like slaughtering chickens. So what if there are the ancestral kings of the Boundary River? They are my food. Neo Manshan, the undying remnant I, the 3 immortals of the demon domain, the blackbird of destiny, Huodou Tianhuang, and Yuanchen, Shizun's 3 corpses Gu Tu Ling. All of them can be killed. The only thing I need to be wary of in this world are the 5 great variables left by immortal sovereign Zido. If I don't eliminate An Crane, Axe Chi, Zhonggue, River Earl and the Devil Insect, I won't be able to truly destroy the Purple Mountain Ocean. In the past, the reason why Great Venerable Love Palm could not end the last Purple Mountain in Samsara was because of this. Fine. When I really face those 5 changes, I will ask for help from Master Love Palm. I believe he will be very willing to enter the Purple Mountain Ocean again to avenge himself. The great Emperor Luck-wielding almost wanted to roar at the sky to release his suppressed emotions that had been dormant for many years. At this moment, The great Emperor Luck-wielding's expression suddenly changed drastically. To his horror, he discovered that the total amount of fate in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds was decreasing at an alarming rate, as if it was being forcibly taken away by something. If he did not stop this, once the fate in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds was seriously lost, he would not be able to cultivate the Tao orthodoxy no matter how much time he had, let alone 100 years, unless the total amount of fate in heaven and earth was restored. Who is it? Who ruined my great plan? I'm going to kill you. Kill you. Chapter 1236. South Heaven, Wind Thunder Mountain, Fortune Palm Immortal Palace. On the Wind Thunder Mountain, Great Emperor Fortune Palm began to perform divination with his fingers. His fingers moved swiftly and he performed hundreds of hand seals in the blink of an eye. Who exactly is devouring the heavenly chi of this world? He wanted to find out the truth, but he failed in the end. I can't find out. Seeing that his hand seals were ineffective, his expression turned even more unpleasant. The divination technique he cultivated was very mysterious. Once he mastered it, he would be able to predict everything. However, once he made a mistake, all his previous efforts would be wasted. The heavens would not cooperate with him, and his divination technique would be greatly damaged. Ever since he made the first mistake in his divination technique, there was a crack in his divination technique. After that, he began to make mistakes again and again. If it weren't for the mistakes in his divination, how could his disciple, Si Ming, have died in the desolate wilderness? If it weren't for the mistakes in his divination, how could his second primordial spirit, Fan Makong, have been killed by someone else? A single mistake would lead to a series of mistakes. The more mistakes he made, the bigger the crack in his divination technique, and the easier it was for him to make a mistake in his divination technique. As a result, he miscalculated the time of the death of the 7 Sha emperors. He missed the fact that the ancient Chaos Immortal Emperor could actually walk out of the divine tomb alive. Fortunately, he had a limited lifespan. He did not calculate the death of the blood god, Gung Wu, and even Niu Mansion's reappearance. This time, he originally thought that he would definitely be able to complete the Tao orthodoxy within 100 years. However, a huge variable appeared and weakened the heavenly chi of the illusory world, making it impossible for him to complete the Tao orthodoxy in 100 years. He wanted to calculate the cause and effect, but his divination technique was greatly damaged. He could not do anything about it. Since the divination technique is useless, I will use the water mirror technique to see what's going on. Great Emperor Fortune Palm pointed his finger forward. A green water mirror suddenly appeared in front of him. He put his palm into the water mirror and fished it out. It was as if he had grasped the karma of the entire world. All of a sudden, the entire Wind Thunder Mountain was filled with colorful fog, like rolling waves, which alarmed all the disciples. It's the water mirror technique. Master is fishing for someone else's karma again. I wonder who is the person he is fishing this time? Impossible. Master's water mirror technique actually failed. Could it be that the enemy this time is extremely powerful? Amidst the shocked cries of countless disciples, the great Emperor of Fortune Palm's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. His water mirror technique had failed. He still couldn't find out who was devouring the Chi Providence. In the past, when Ning Fan's cultivation base was still low, he was once attacked by Great Emperor Yin Yun's water mirror technique. Now, however, Ning Fan's magic power was already comparable to that of a quasi-saint. How could Great Emperor Fate Manipulator possibly control the karma in his body? Even the water mirror's water is useless. It seems that the other party is at least a quasi-saint. If that's the case, I can only use the karma chessboard to calculate your identity. Where are the causal beasts? Show yourself and listen to my orders. The fortune manipulator Immortal Emperor dispelled the water mirror technique and pointed at the sky. In an instant, a gigantic black and white chessboard appeared in the sky where wind and thunder intertwined. There were 36 white chess pieces and 6 black chess pieces on the chessboard. Each of the chess pieces contained a chess soul with a pair of scarlet eyes. Their resentment was overwhelming. All of them were the great beings of heaven and earth who died because of Immortal Emperor Yin Yun's scheme. On the karma chessboard, There was a strange beast that looked like a mix of a lion and a dog. Its entire body was covered in white fur. Its body emitted a dazzling divine halo of the great Tao. Its eyes were scarlet red. Its spiritual intelligence was not high, and it could not speak the human language. It was none other than the Karma Beast that Ning Fan had previously scared out of its wits. Karma Beast, quickly turn into a Karma Sense bead, and help me calculate the karma of this place. The great Emperor of Fortune Palm said in a tone that brooked no refusal. Roar. The Karma Beast answered unwillingly. Just as it was about to perfunctorily help the great Emperor to sense the opponent's karma, its expression changed drastically all of a sudden. It was filled with fear and all of its senses were retracted. Roar. The Karma Beast let out a roar of fear, and returned to the Karma chessboard as if it was escaping. It crawled on the chessboard and covered its head with its paws, shivering in fear. Its appearance was extremely similar to a lion dog that was frightened in the mortal world. The Karma Beast is actually afraid again. Who exactly is the enemy? Could it be the same person who killed Si Ming last time? Could it be that Huodou is making things difficult for me again? The great Emperor of Fortune Palm's expression changed, and he remained silent. If the enemy is really Huodou, he would need to calm down. After all, it wasn't the best time to eliminate the Hua clan and devour Huodou. It was a pity that the leader of the Southern Heaven Hua clan, Huodou, had no idea that he had become Ning Fan's scapegoat once again. Humph. Since Huodou is devouring my luck, I won't bother about it anymore. After I eliminate the Hua clan and devour Huodou, the lost luck of this week will naturally return to me. The only troublesome thing is that it is no longer possible for me to obtain a Tao orthodoxy using this week's luck. Speaking of which, the man-eating gourd that I set up in the northern heaven seems to be about to be harvested. If I can use this gourd to devour a mouthful of the Stone Soldier 8 Formation's eternity, it should be able to increase my cultivation base tremendously. Man-eating gourd, oh man-eating gourd. You eating gourd, don't disappoint me. When he thought that he would be able to steal the eternity soon, even the great Emperor of Fortune Palm could not help but feel overjoyed. The depression of not being able to obtain a Tao orthodoxy was completely swept away. In the stone room mountain of the Lost World Palace in the northern heaven, the sense of karma between heaven and earth disappeared in an instant. However, Ning Fan's sharp senses told him that someone was trying to sense his karma just now. This kind of karmic sensing technique was very familiar to him. It was similar to the secret technique that immortal Emperor Fortune Palm used on him in the past. Is it Fortune Palm? This old bastard has quite an impressive ability. I just started to condense the virtuous umbrella, and he already sensed it. Unfortunately, you can't stop me. When he thought of Fortune Palm, Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. Ripples began to form in his heart. As soon as the ripples appeared, the virtuous umbrella that was slowly taking shape suddenly showed signs of instability. Seeing that, Ning Fan had no choice but to focus on condensing the virtuous umbrella. The heaven-battling jade umbrella was the body of the virtuous umbrella. As Ning Fan channeled his 7-colored luck into it, the umbrella gradually shone with 7-colored light. That 7-colored light was the color of Ning Fan's luck. Among the 7 colors, there was a trace of the embryonic form of the 8th color. His luck was truly extraordinary. Waves of luck flowed into the umbrella, causing the golden light of the umbrella to become denser and denser. The luck of the heavenly cycle was also devoured by the virtuous umbrella. It madly flowed into the umbrella, causing Ning Fan's luck to show signs of skyrocketing. Originally, there was only an embryonic form of the 8th color. Now it was becoming brighter and brighter, as if it was about to fully condense. I didn't expect this virtuous umbrella to be able to help me increase the grade of my luck. Ning Fan was greatly surprised. This was not mentioned in the memories of the Ant Lord. The Ant Lord sneered. How can the other cultivators have as low luck as you? Of course, they won't be able to enjoy your benefits. The Ant Lord said the word benefits in a sarcastic manner. Obviously, from her point of view, Ning Fan's increase in luck was not an advantage, but a great loss instead. In theory, those who possess 7-colored luck could begin to cultivate the virtuous umbrella. However, in reality, very few people would choose to cultivate this technique when they have 7-colored luck. There were 2 reasons for this. Firstly, those who have low luck usually have low cultivation bases. Who are those who have 7-colored luck? Basically, they are all immortal emperors. How could mere immortal emperors want to cultivate the virtuous umbrella? These people might not even understand the cultivation method of the virtuous umbrella, let alone have enough magic power to refine the body of the umbrella. How could they cultivate it? Ningfan, on the other hand, did not have these problems. He had the comprehension ability of a celestial being. Thus, it was easy for him to comprehend the method of condensing the virtuous umbrella. He also had enough magic power. That was why he could achieve this when his immortal luck is 7-colored. Secondly, the virtuous umbrella that those who have low luck can cultivate is usually very weak. One should know that there are many types of virtuous umbrellas. Even the umbrellas of the same type have different levels of strength. The virtuous umbrella was a technique of a saint. As a saint, it naturally had its own pride. If the owner of the umbrella has too low luck, the virtuous umbrella would not be compatible with its owner. It would have no choice but to split a portion of the luck absorbed during the process of condensing the umbrella and forcibly feed it back to the owner in order to increase the level of the owner's luck. This action may seem to increase the level of the owner's luck, but it would cause the amount of luck absorbed by the virtuous umbrella to decrease greatly. The virtuous umbrella of the world would only have a chance to absorb the luck of the world once when it is first cultivated. The amount and quality of the luck absorbed during the process of condensing the umbrella would directly determine the power of the umbrella after it is fully cultivated. The quality of the luck in the illusory world was not high in the first place. It was not the best place to condense the umbrella. Under such circumstances, the virtuous umbrella actually split a large portion of its luck to increase Ningfan's luck. How could the power of the virtuous umbrella of the world be high when it is cultivated in such a way? In the Antlord's opinion, even if Ningfan successfully cultivates the virtuous umbrella of the world, it would probably be the weakest umbrella in the world. Any old monster of the true world, who uses the virtuous umbrella of the world, would be able to beat Ningfan. When Ningfan was unlucky, the Antlord was happy. At this moment, because he was in a good mood, he actually started humming a tune from the true world. I see. The virtuous umbrella of the virtuous umbrella has split its luck to me. That's why its power will be greatly reduced after it is fully cultivated. Huh? Ningfan knitted his brows but soon loosened them. Fine. Fine. Even if the virtuous umbrella of the world is really the weakest one, it is still a technique of a saint after all. It is enough to defeat all the quasi-saints in the age of chaos. Even though the power of the virtuous umbrella of the world would be greatly reduced, he would also gain benefits from it which would increase his luck greatly. With an increase in his luck, he would be able to encounter more opportunities and fortunes in the future. Who could say that he would definitely be at a disadvantage by doing this? Ningfan calmed himself down and continued cultivating the umbrella. He performed hand seals on the gigantic 8-colored umbrella in the sky above the stone room mountain, causing the light on the umbrella to become brighter and brighter. This 8-colored umbrella was the combination of the heaven-battling jade umbrella and the umbrella of luck. It even absorbed the luck of true monarch Fortune Zay's 5 lifetimes. The 7 colors on the umbrella had already solidified. The 8th color was also slowly condensing. Devour. Devour. The luck of the heavenly cycle was forcefully absorbed into the virtuous umbrella. In just 100 breaths, 1/5 of the luck of the northern heaven was gone. The luck of the 4 heavenly cycles was as flat as the surface of the water. Now that the luck of one world had decreased, it was like a huge hole suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea. The water outside the hole would naturally flow into it. As a result, the luck of the other 3 heavens began to flow into the northern heaven, causing the luck of the northern heaven to recover slightly. At the same time, it also reduced the luck of the other 3 heavens. Swooshed as a ray of dazzling light soared into the sky, Ningfan's luck completely broke through to the 8th color. In terms of luck alone, he had already surpassed the first-level quasi-saint Xiang Hizi. He was now on par with the second-level quasi-saint Xiang Hizi. Besides, the 8-colored immortal luck was not Ningfan's limit. His luck was still increasing. He was actually planning to break through to the 9-colored immortal luck in one go. The 9-colored immortal luck was comparable to that of a grand cultivator. If Ningfan has such luck as an immortal king, his life in the future would probably be filled with good luck. However, no one saw the scene of him breaking through to the 9-colored immortal luck, because the surroundings of the Stone Room Mountain had been sealed by him. No spirit sense from the outside could enter, and no aura force from the inside could leave. No one knew what kind of qualitative change was happening to Ningfan's body at this moment. Even the immortal emperors outside the Stone Room Mountain could not sense what was happening inside the mountain. Unless they were first-level quasi-saints who were very close to the Stone Room Mountain, no one would know what Ningfan was doing inside the mountain. Then, the question was there a quasi-saints in the Lost World Palace? No, there was no quasi-saints in the Lost World Palace. There were only 3 immortal emperors guarding it. Logically speaking, since there was something like the heaven-avoiding coffin in the northern heaven, it was not strange for the Lost World Palace to have 1 or 2 quasi-saints. As for immortal emperors, there should be at least 10 to 20 of them hiding inside the coffin to prolong their feeble existence. However, the strange thing was that no immortal emperors or quasi-saints in the Lost World Palace had survived by relying on the heaven-avoiding coffin. All of them would mysteriously disappear when their immortal lifespan was near its end. Ordinary people naturally did not know the reason. Only those who knew the power of the Stone Warrior 8 formations knew the inside story. Thus, they were even more afraid of the Lost World Palace and did not dare to provoke it. That was awkward. Ningfan was breaking through to the 9th color of his immortal luck in the Lost World Palace. It was such a shocking feat, but the Lost World Palace actually knew nothing about it. However, there was a foreign quasi-saint who happened to be staying in the Lost World Palace to eat and drink. He could vaguely sense what was happening inside the Stone Room Mountain. However, Ningfan's technique of isolating heaven and earth was very mysterious. He had used the secret word of force. Thus, he could not sense what was happening inside the Stone Room Mountain. He could only vaguely sense some qi. Inside the inverted spring on the western palace island of the Lost World Palace, the second-grade quasi-saint Fish Lord was hiding in the underwater cave of the inverted spring. He was drinking wine leisurely. This underwater cave was not his home. It was the home of the female demon, Jiu Shaojiu. The wine he was drinking was not his own. It was the immortal wine that Jiu Shaojiu had personally brewed. Jiu Shaojiu usually guarded the immortal wine very carefully. Fortunately, she had been out recently. Thus, there was no one guarding the wine cellar. As a result, the Fish Lord secretly drank the good wine every day. Every day he would get drunk. He was so happy that he did not want to go home. He could not wait for Jiu Shaojiu to come back later. When Jiu Shaojiu comes back and finds out that 800 jars of immortal wine are gone, she will probably be so angry that she will pull out my beard again. Speaking of which, I have no idea where Jiu Shaojiu has been recently. The protection mark that I planted on her body can't sense her existence at all. She should have gone to some ancient ruins that are isolated from the world, right? It is unlikely that she will be captured by some old monster. Who among the immortal emperors and quasi-saints in the northern heaven doesn't know that I am as close as a granddaughter to her? Who would dare to touch my granddaughter and make things difficult for me for no reason? Let's not think about it anymore. Let's continue drinking. Immortal emperors don't want to come on board and call themselves wine immortals. Gulp. Gulp gulp. This wine is amazing. Jiu Shaojiu is truly a once-in-100 million-years genius in winemaking. I merely mentioned a few words about the brewing method of the wine in my hometown. She actually managed to imitate most of the taste of the Haoyang wine with just a few words. Sigh. After drinking this wine, I feel a little homesick again. Even though this wine is good, one shouldn't drink too much of it. It will definitely hurt one's intestines. The Fish Lord stopped drinking and sighed. Just as he was sighing, his expression changed slightly as he sensed the changes in the Stone Room Mountain. It's him? A mere immortal king realm expert has actually broken through to the 8th color of his immortal luck. When Ningfan killed true Monarch Fuzei, he was not that shocked because if he was in true Monarch Fuzei's place, he would also have great confidence in doing that. However, When he sensed that Ning Fan had broken through to the 8th color of his immortal luck, the Fish Lord suddenly lost his composure. How could it be so easy to attain the 8th color of immortal luck? In the past, in order to attain the 8th color of immortal luck, he had gone into seclusion for a total of 30 million years. That was an extremely long period of time. He did not step out of his residence and just stayed in his cave dwelling. Other than diligently cultivating his immortal luck, he did nothing else but focus on this one thing. How boring! However, when it came to Ning Fan, why did it become so easy? What exactly is this young man doing in the Stone Room Mountain? Why is his luck increasing so quickly? What's even stranger is that his luck is actually decreasing. Could it be that this young man actually knows some kind of technique that allows him to devour the heavenly luck and transform it into human luck? Wait a minute. His luck has changed again. Other than the 8th color, there are also signs of the 9th color. His luck is actually still increasing. 8 colors 2 parts. 8 colors 5 parts. 8 colors 7 parts. 8 colors 9 parts. 9 colors. He actually broke through to the 9th color with his Immortal King Realm cultivation base. How can such a mighty figure be born in the age of chaos? Due to his extreme shock, Yuzhu had completely forgotten about stealing the wine. He only focused on sensing the changes in the Stone Room Mountain. However, for some unknown reason, when Ning Fan's luck broke through to the 9th color, a massive force suddenly appeared in the Stone Room Mountain. It prevented Yuzhu's senses from penetrating the mountain at all. What exactly is this young man doing in the Stone Room Mountain? My wine sword sense actually can't enter the mountain at all. Yuzhu felt as if there were 10,000 water insects crawling and scratching the depths of his heart. He was too curious. He really wanted to know everything that happened in the Stone Room Mountain. His instincts that he had honed through many years of life and death told him that there must be a great opportunity in the Stone Room Mountain. If he could see what was going on, it would definitely bring him great benefits. I don't care anymore. Even if this young man doesn't want me to see it, I still want to take a look. Wine Chi of heaven and earth, enter my spirit sense and transform into my wine sword. Break. Following Yuzhu's order, his invisible spirit sense turned into a gigantic wine sword. It forcefully cut open a small gap in the Stone Room Mountain and entered half a step into the mountain. Although he had only taken half a step in, Yuzhu was finally able to see everything that was happening in the Stone Room Mountain. At this moment, Ning Fan was sitting in the middle of the stone room. He was using his magic power to refine and forge a giant umbrella with 9 colors. Above the giant umbrella, countless blessings and heavenly luck radiated in all directions. Although Yuzhu could not recognize what kind of umbrella it was, he could vaguely sense how terrifying it was. Although this umbrella had not been completed yet, once it was completed, it would definitely possess unparalleled power. Unexpectedly, Yuzhu's peak did not infuriate Ning Fan. Instead, it enraged the virtuous and virtue umbrella. The virtuous umbrella was very angry. Right now, she was at the critical juncture of condensing and taking form, so she didn't want anyone to disturb her. However, Yuzhu, this reckless junior, actually wanted to peek at her. Rumble. The surging power of virtue suddenly surged out of the umbrella and collided with the Fish Lord's spirit that was peeking at this place. The Fish Master's divine sense was extremely powerful, but it was still injured by the power of merit. With a muffled groan, Yuzhu coughed out a mouthful of blood. His sea of consciousness was slightly injured. In order to peek at the Stone Room Mountain, he had used almost all of his spirit sense power. Once his spirit sense is damaged, his sea of consciousness would be damaged as well. This is the power of the 3rd step. It's not the power of samsara. What is it? Yuzhu only recognized the power of samsara, but not the power of virtue. It was probably because there was hardly any virtue left in the age of chaos. Rumble. The power of virtue collided with Yuzhu's spirit sense for the 2nd time. Yuzhu wanted to withdraw his spirit sense from the Stone Room Mountain, but he was shocked to find that he could not do so. This was all of his spirit sense power. If it collides with his spirit sense again, it was very likely that all of his spirit sense would be destroyed. By then, his sea of consciousness would no longer be lightly injured but severely injured. It was too late for Yu Zhu to regret. If he knew that he would have to pay such a heavy price for peeking at the Stone Room Mountain, he would not have done so even if he was beaten to death. Fellow Taoist, quickly retreat. Don't peek at this place anymore. I might not be able to save you next time. Suddenly, someone helped Yu Zhu withdraw all of his spirit sense and escaped from the Stone Room Mountain. The person who helped him was actually Ning Fan. He did not save Yu Zhu out of kindness. Instead, he did not want Yu Zhu's spirit sense to continue interfering with the refinement of the virtuous umbrella. At this moment, the refinement of the virtuous umbrella had reached the most crucial step. A slight mistake would result in a backlash that could destroy heaven and earth. How could Ning Fan dare to leave Yu Zhu's spirit sense here? He also did not dare to let Yu Zhu's spirit sense continue to go out of control and attack others. Even without Yu Zhu's interference, he had already suffered the backlash of the virtuous umbrella because of some mistakes in the refinement of the umbrella, let alone now. Even though his divine spirit body was incredibly strong, Ning Fan still suffered some injuries. Now, in order to quickly get rid of Yu Zhu's spirit sense and restore the virtuous umbrella to normal, Ning Fan no longer cared about suppressing his injuries. When he forcefully got rid of Yu Zhu's spirit sense, he spurted out a mouthful of blood. It looked extremely frightening. However, Ning Fan did not suffer many injuries. Who asked him to have such a massive amount of qi and blood? Was it painful to lose a hair from 9 bulls? Of course not. However, Yu Zhu did not know that. How would he know that Ning Fan only suffered superficial injuries? How would he know that Ning Fan was chasing him away instead of saving him? Yu Zhu was shocked. In his entire life of cultivation, he had truly never seen such a noble person like Ning Fan. He was the one who had peeped on Ning Fan's cultivation first. He was the one who made the mistake. However, in the end, Ning Fan saved him and prevented his sea of consciousness from being severely damaged. Even though Yu Zhu managed to get his spirit sense back, he did not feel any joy of surviving a calamity. Instead, he was at a loss. As a second-level quasi-saint, his Tao heart should be as firm as steel. However, due to Ning Fan's actions, he was shocked and felt guilty. How broad-minded must one be in order to repay evil with kindness? Yu Zhu knew that he could not do it. He would only repay evil with evil and repay kindness with kindness. If someone peeped on his secret technique, even if he did not kill that person, he would still give them a small punishment to teach them a lesson. Even if he did not teach them a lesson, it was impossible for him to repay evil with kindness like Ning Fan did. I originally did not believe that there would be anyone with great virtue in the mortal world. But perhaps, this young man is really different from ordinary people. Yu Zhu sighed with emotion. Fortunately, I took action in time and chased that person's spirit sense away. The emotions of the virtuous umbrella have returned to normal. Ning Fan heaved a sigh of relief. Ning Fan was naturally very displeased when someone forcefully peeped on his cultivation. However, he was busy condensing the virtuous umbrella at the moment. Thus, he did not have the time to pay attention to Yu Zhu. The cultivation of the virtuous umbrella had already reached the most crucial step. The current virtuous umbrella already carried a small amount of virtue power. Unfortunately, this insignificant amount of virtue power was far from enough to fully form the virtuous umbrella. Therefore, Ning Fan needed to borrow the Ant Lord's virtue power to complete his umbrella. The Ant Lord who was sealed in Ning Fan's sea of consciousness was just a trace of the remnant soul of a saint. Due to the uniqueness of the seal, he could not use any of his cultivation base. However, this did not hinder the connection between the Ant Lord's remnant soul and his virtuous umbrella. Now, when I recite an incantation, you will recite one after me, the Ant Lord said. Ning Fan replied. Outside the Northwest Sea, in the corner of the great desolate land, there is a mountain that does not fit. Its name is Buzhou. Outside the Northwest Sea, in the corner of the great desolate land, there is a mountain that does not fit. Its name is Buzhou. Ning Fan followed the Ant Lord and recited the unknown incantation. He recited 800 sentences in one go. This incantation contained some kind of divine ability. When Ning Fan finished reciting all the incantations, The scenery of the stone room mountain in front of him suddenly changed. Heaven and earth began to change. The scenery in front of him was no longer the stone room mountain. Instead, it turned into a desolate mountain and sea. Ning Fan stood on the sea. Behind him was the Buzhou mountain, which was floating in the northwest sea. In front of him, there was a graceful woman who was walking on the sea. She was holding a virtuous umbrella. That woman who was holding the umbrella was actually the Ant Lord. I see. So the desolate mountains and seas that I saw were all illusions? Ning Fan scanned his surroundings. Looking at the illusions of the mountains and seas of the Buzhou mountain, he felt like he was revisiting an old place. That's right. What you saw were all illusions derived from the incantation. Everything including me is fake. Only the virtuous umbrella in my hand is real. Now I will lend you part of the virtue power on this umbrella. You must definitely condense the virtuous umbrella. Otherwise, not only will I lose my virtue power, you won't get any benefits from it either. The Ant Lord said unwillingly. Then, she reluctantly handed the umbrella in her hand to Ning Fan. Ning Fan took the virtuous umbrella from the Ant Lord's hand. This was not his virtuous umbrella. It belonged to the Ant Lord. There was not much virtue power left on the umbrella. In fact, there were many damaged parts on the umbrella. Looking at those wounds, it was vaguely possible that they were caused by the demon crane. I see. Your virtuous umbrella was damaged by Senior Omniscient before. The reason why you are so eager to help me condense the virtuous umbrella is because you want to get more virtue power from me in return to repair this umbrella. Ning Fan said. That's right. If it wasn't for the benefits, why would I help you? I don't owe you anything. The Ant Lord said with a snort. That's right. The current you doesn't owe me anything. The karma between you and me is also not in this Buzhou mountain sea. This place is mine. Her karma is not yours. Ning Fan held the umbrella and suddenly turned around to look at the illusions of the Buzhou mountain sea behind him. He was not looking at the mountain. Instead, he wanted to see what kind of appearance he would have in the future when he appeared in the true location of this mountain sea. What is the future? What is the past? There is no future and there is no past. Only after finding zero will there be a possibility for the future. Only then will there be a path to the first. Have the current me found zero? Ning Fan muttered to himself. No one could understand what he was saying. Even the Ant Lord was dumbfounded. He thought that Ning Fan was crazy and talking nonsense. No one understood. Ning Fan did not need anyone to understand. With a flick of his sleeve, the illusions of the Buzhou mountain sea disappeared. Even the illusions of the confused Ant Lord also disappeared. In front of Ning Fan's eyes was still the scenery of the stone room mountain. In the sky above the stone room, his virtuous umbrella that had yet to be fully condensed was floating. In his hand, he was holding the umbrella that the Ant Lord lent him. Ning Fan shook his wrist and the virtuous umbrella of the Ant Lord suddenly disappeared. It turned into a ray of light and flew into his umbrella. All of a sudden, the lightning and fire on the stone room mountain became more intense. Within the lightning and fire, Ning Fan's virtuous umbrella gradually solidified. The chi of the third step on it became stronger and stronger. However, just as the umbrella was about to be fully condensed, a trace of heavens will suddenly descended from the sky, as if it wanted to stop the virtuous umbrella from fully condensing. The heavens did not allow it. The heavenly Tao saw Ning Fan as its enemy. How could it allow Ning Fan to hold the virtuous umbrella and transcend mortality to become a saint? The will of heaven struck the virtuous umbrella, like a bolt of lightning. Cracking sounds could be heard. Countless cracks appeared on the umbrella, as if it was going to collapse at any moment. It was a failure. I failed. I actually failed. It must be because the remaining power of virtue in my virtuous umbrella is too little. It's not enough to withstand the sins on your body. That's why I incurred the wrath of the heavens and failed. In Ning Fan's sea of consciousness, the Ant Lord's heart was filled with pain. She had no choice but to feel the pain. She really felt sorry for the small amount of power of virtue in her umbrella. Great. She had lent the power to Ning Fan, but he failed to condense the umbrella. She was really going to lose everything she had. You don't have enough power of virtue, huh? I remember that you still have quite a lot of merit points in your heaven-opening jade book. Can you use them? Ning Fan said with a serious expression. No. You are not a saint. You can't directly convert the merit points into merit power, because your physical body can't withstand the power of virtue. The Ant Lord said sorrowfully. She had already begun to accept the fact that she did not lose anything. If I don't try, how will I know if it will work or not? Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and stubbornly took out the heaven-opening jade book that the Ant Lord gave him. There were still 5,800 merit points in it. He raised his eyes and looked at the sky. He was not afraid of the will of the heavens at all. He had also eaten the heavenly scroll of mastery, which contained the will of the heavens. If the will of the heavens within the range of this stone room mountain gives up, he would not make a fuss about it. However, if the will of the heavens continues to obstruct him, he would not mind devouring the heavens and earth again. At the crucial moment when Ning Fan was resisting the will of the heavens, Master Rain rode 4 large and 1 small rain dragon. They carried the Taoist friends of the 3 mountains and 5 mountains that he had invited, and arrived at the stone room mountain. Little Ning Fan, quickly hand over the heaven-battling jade umbrella. Otherwise, this stone room mountain will be your final destination. I will kill you right here and now. Outside the stone room mountain, cries of surprise sounded everywhere. No one had expected that not long after Ning Fan killed true monarch Fu Zhe, another quasi-saints would arrive and make things difficult for Ning Fan. Moreover, there was actually more than one quasi-saints. The formation of the water sect was simply too frightening. Were they really planning to kill Ning Fan, an ancient great cultivator? Chapter 1237. Ning Fan's little brat. Quickly hand over the heaven-defying jade umbrella. Otherwise, this Shursher mountain will be your final resting place, and your Tao will perish here. True monarch North Sea rode 5 rain dragons, and descended from the starry sky, arriving at the Time Sea and Stone Room Mountain. His appearance caused the entire Sea of Time, and even the entire Lost World Palace to be filled with astonishment. No one would have thought that this titled Rain Master, who rarely stepped into the mortal world, would come to the Lost World Palace at this moment, and provoke Ning Fan, who was in seclusion on the Stone Room Mountain. During the Dharma Ending era, first-stage quasi-sages were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns, let alone a second-stage quasi-sage like true monarch Beihai. His aura was far too powerful. Because of his rage, he didn't hold anything back as he unleashed all of the pressure he could muster. As the pressure spread out, the seawater of the Sea of Time surged up into the sky, transforming into a torrential downpour. That rainstorm was his anger and his killing intent towards Ning Fan. Today, I came here to retrieve an old item and kill a person. Those who are not involved leave. As soon as the word retreat was uttered, it immediately established the rules of this world. The northern heaven cultivators around Shursher Mountain suddenly felt a monstrous rain assaulting their faces, forcing them to retreat, driving them further and further away from Shursher Mountain. True monarch Northern Sea wanted to turn the entire Stone Room Mountain into a battlefield for him to suppress Ning Fan. No one was allowed to step in or interfere in this battlefield. There were very few people who could resist the might of true Lord Beihai and forcefully stay here. To be able to do such a thing, one had to be an ancient immortal venerable at the very least. However, even the 10,000 ancient immortal venerables felt a tinge of fear in the face of the enraged perfected Lord North Sea. Senior Rainmaster, is there some misunderstanding between you and Senior Zhao Jian? Senior Zhao Jian is in seclusion here, purifying the baneful aura in heaven and earth. Please do not disturb him. A few immortal venerables and immortal kings of Zhao Jian's followers gritted their teeth and walked forward while withstanding the pressure. They wanted to talk to true Lord Beihai as they were afraid that he would disturb Ning Fan's cultivation. However, what kind of status did true Lord Beihai have? Why would he waste his time with a few immortal kings and immortal kings? He didn't even look at the few immortal supremes and immortal kings. Instead, he pointed to the sky. The voice that reverberated through the sky was instantly magnified countless times. Unrelated people retreat. 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 Those immortal kings and immortal sovereigns only felt an intense pain in their sea of consciousness, and then they coughed out blood. They had no choice but to retreat, or else their sea of consciousness would collapse and they would die. A dignified immortal lord and immortal king did not even have the right to speak when facing perfected Lord Beihai. They were no different from ants. Senior Rainmaster. We don't know what grudges you have with Senior Zhao, but Senior Zhao is an ancient cultivator, and you're just a second-stage quasi-sage. At this moment, Senior Zhao was absorbing the baleful energy of heaven and earth on Shirshir Mountain, and was at a critical moment. It's not wise for a senior to challenge a senior. It is not courageous to take advantage of others when they are down. Why don't we retreat for now and find a time in the future to sit down and have a good talk with Senior Zhao? With Senior Zhao's benevolent and righteous character, there is no grudge that cannot be resolved. There is no need to take the risk and be contaminated by the karma of the ancient great cultivators. Another two people blocked true Lord North Sea. They were the Ocean Sand Emperor and perfected Tao and Li. These two immortal emperors were also Zhao Jian's followers. Seeing that true sovereign Beihai wanted to disturb Ningfan's cultivation, they naturally stepped forward to stop him without hesitation. Ha! A group of ignorant children actually treated a mere celestial king as a great cultivator from the ancient times. It was simply preposterous. Get lost! True monarch North Sea shouted. Two of the 5 rain dragons under his command immediately charged towards Sea Sandtharch and Peachtharch. Ocean Sand Emperor and Li Emperor were just 6th Tribulation immortal emperors. How could they withstand true Lord North Sea's furious attack? Both of them were sent flying several thousand zhang away after just one attack. They spurted out a mouthful of blood. Their chi was already greatly damaged, and they were seriously injured. So strong. Is this the power of a second-stage quasi-sage? Ocean Sand Emperor and Li Emperor looked at each other in astonishment. They initially thought that Ningfan, who had the cultivation base of an ancient great cultivator, was already considered strong. However, the power that true Lord North Sea displayed did not seem to be any weaker than Ningfan. What is going on? Could it be that true Lord North Sea is not a second-stage quasi-sage, but has already broken through to the grand cultivation realm? If that is the case, Ningfan would be in danger. He must have consumed a lot of energy in the battle against true Lord Fuzhe. After that, he had to purify the baleful chi of heaven and earth. He must have suffered a lot of damage. Moreover, he was at the crucial moment of purifying the baleful chi. If he is disturbed by true Lord North Sea and something happens to him, he would certainly suffer a great backlash. Detestable. We must not let Master Rain disturb Senior's cultivation. Ocean Sand Emperor and Li Emperor forcefully suppressed the blood in their veins. They still wanted to go forward and stop Ningfan. However, before they could reach true Lord North Sea, someone had already appeared in a flash and stopped them. You two kids, why don't you know what's good for you? That person called Ningfan isn't your father or mother. Why do you have to interfere in this matter? Aren't you afraid that you will be tainted by fellow Taoist North Sea's karma, and your cultivation base will go down the drain? The one who spoke was a short Taoist wearing apricot yellow Taoist robes. His cultivation base was at the 8th Tribulation Immortal Emperor realm. The death chi on this Taoist's body was very heavy. Obviously, he was an ancient being who was not far from death, and had survived until now by relying on the heaven-avoiding coffin. Hiss. It's actually the Earth Palace Star Sovereign. Didn't this person die in battle, when the ancient heavenly court was destroyed? How did he survive until today? No, this person isn't his true self. The Earth Palace Star Sovereign has been possessed by someone. Ocean Sand Emperor and Li Emperor exclaimed in shock. Humph. You are mistaken. I have never been possessed by someone. The Earth Palace Star Sovereign's expression darkened when his identity was exposed. Immediately, his killing intent rose in him. With a flick of his sleeve, 2 rays of golden light flew out from it. The pitiful Ocean Sand Emperor and Li Emperor did not even see the opponent's attack clearly before they were bound by the golden light. They were captured alive by the Earth Palace Star Sovereign and kept inside his sleeve. These two people are not bad food. Fine. After I fulfill my promise with fellow Taoist North Sea, I will find a suitable time and place to devour them. When the cultivators of the northern heaven who were forced to retreat saw the dignified immortal emperors being captured alive by the Earth Palace Star Sovereign with a single move, all of them turned pale with fright, capturing an immortal emperor with a raise of his hand. Even though this Earth Palace Star Sovereign had the cultivation base of an immortal emperor, his combat power was definitely not weaker than a quasi-sage realm expert. Most likely, he was an ancient great emperor who had survived until today. True Lord Northsea actually managed to invite such an expert. What a grand formation. Humph. I found it strange when I couldn't contact fellow Taoist Fuzhe just now. I didn't expect fellow Taoist Fuzhe to have already arrived at the Stone Room Mountain, and he has already been killed by Ning Fan. True Lord Northsea did not care about the small fries like Ocean Sand Emperor and Li Emperor. His eyes were firmly locked by the remaining baleful qi and fortune of heaven and earth. Given his cultivation base, how could he not know that True Lord Fuzhe had already been killed by Ning Fan? Tears immediately flowed down his old face and his hatred towards Ning Fan deepened. Fellow Taoist Fuzhe, you died unjustly. Your death was not worth it. You and I are as close as brothers. Since Ning Fan killed you, it's the same as killing me. Today, even if he hands over the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella, I will still tear him into pieces. It was ridiculous that True Lord Northsea did not even have any sincerity towards his disciples. Instead, he actually wanted to befriend an evil person like True Lord Fuzhe. Birds of a feather flocked together. True Lord Northsea raised his head and saw the starry sky sword mark that Ning Fan slashed across heaven and earth just now. For some reason, the sword mark actually gave him a hint of fear. He tried to repair the sword mark, but to his surprise he could not do it. Despite having a cultivation base at the second level, he actually could not stop the eternal crack of the starry sky that Ning Fan slashed out. That brat's techniques have become more powerful. Even though we have the advantage in numbers, we must not be careless. True Lord Northsea's killing intent towards Ning Fan did not diminish, but his expression became a little solemn. Ha ha ha. It's just the yin-yang qi that was born from 2 reincarnations. Brother Northsea, why do you need to be afraid? As soon as he heard True Lord Northsea's words, a person immediately walked out from behind him and sneered disdainfully at the sword mark in the starry sky. This person was another good friend of True Lord Northsea, Taoist Chongsang. His cultivation base was at the first-level quasi-sage realm, where the 3 mulberry blossoms. There is no wound that I cannot heal. The same goes for the starry sky wounds. Even the wound of 2 lives can be healed. Taoist Chongsang's eyes were filled with arrogance. He pointed at the sky and the shadows of 3 ancient mulberry trees appeared between heaven and earth. Following Taoist Chongsang's order, the 3 mulberry trees suddenly blossomed and bore fruits. The fruits were blood-red mulberries. Taoist Chongsang raised his hand and waved. The illusory mulberries immediately turned from shadows to tangible objects. Each of them flew into the crack in the starry sky. Then a strange scene happened. The eternal crack in the starry sky that even True Lord Northsea could not heal was actually forcefully sewn up by True Lord Chongsang's divine ability. Even though the stitches were not perfect and there were still flaws, it was undeniable that True Lord Chongsang had indeed done something heaven-defying. That brat Ning Fan is not worth mentioning. He must have used some evil tricks to kill fellow Taoist Fuzhe. We will take revenge for fellow Taoist Fuzhe right now. Taoist Chongsang said with hatred. All right. Since that brat Ning Fan is hiding in the Stone Room Mountain and refuses to come out, I will break the restriction of this mountain and force him to show himself. 5 dragons splitting the mountain. As True Lord Northsea gave his order, the 5 rain dragons under his command immediately rolled up a torrential rain and heavily crashed against the heaven and earth restriction of the Stone Room Mountain. Rumble, rumble. Even though the restriction that Ning Fan had set up was powerful, it could not stop the continuous attacks of the 5 rain dragons. In just over 20 breaths' time, the restriction showed signs of cracking. Just as the restriction was about to break, a person suddenly crossed the starry sky and broke through the wind and rain. He arrived in front of the Stone Room Mountain and blocked the attacks of the rain dragons. It was actually old ancestor Lei Zhe, one of the 3 great quasi-saints of the 4 Freaks sect. Fellow Taoist Lei Zhe, I have no grudge against you in the past. Why are you stopping me? True Lord Northsea frowned slightly. Fuck you. You want to kill my little martial uncle, and you still have the cheek to ask me why I am stopping you. Old ancestor Laze had always been a good person and a peacemaker in the northern heaven. Now that he saw true Lord Northsea, he actually cursed him without showing any mercy. It was really unimaginable. How dare you humiliate me? Do you really think I won't dare to kill you just because you are a member of the Four Freaks sect? True Lord Northsea was enraged. So what if I humiliate you? I still want to beat you up. Constellation formation. With the order of old ancestor Laze, 14 illusory stars appeared above the stone room mountain. Initially, the stars were extremely illusory. However, as time passed by, they gradually solidified into 14 gigantic coffins that shone with starlight and descended from the skies. Thereafter, the gigantic coffins opened and ancient constellation emperors walked out from them one after another. Legend had it that there were 28 immortal emperors in the Four Freaks sect, and they were known as the 28 constellation emperors. At that moment, 14 ancient constellation emperors had descended because of the order of old ancestor Laze. Laze, are you crazy? How dare you summon half of the ancient constellation emperors here? Are you planning to start a war with my water sect on behalf of the Four Freaks sect? True Lord Northsea was shocked and enraged. A single ancient constellation emperor of the Four Freaks sect was nothing much. However, the Four Freaks sect had the joint attack formation of the Purple Doe immortal domain that could be used as the constellation formation. When 7 ancient constellation emperors joined forces, they could fight against a first-level quasi-sage. 14 ancient constellation emperors could fight against a second-level quasi-sage. If all 28 constellation emperors were present, they could even fight against a third-level quasi-sage. True Lord Northsea could look down on old ancestor Laze, but he did not dare to underestimate the constellation formation of the Four Freaks sect. Fortunately, Laze only summoned 14 ancient constellation emperors. If he directly summoned all 28 ancient constellation emperors, Northsea would have no choice but to flee for the time being no matter how arrogant he was. So what if we start a war? If you go against my little uncle master, it means you are going against my Laze. If you go against my Laze, it means you are going against the entire Four Freaks sect. If you go against the Four Freaks sect, it means you are going against the entire world. Laze's eyes turned blood red. He looked at True Lord Northsea as if he was the enemy who killed his father. Since Uncle Master he had ordered him to call Ning Fan Uncle Master, then Ning Fan was truly his Uncle Master. If he failed to protect his little Uncle Master today, he would have no face to meet the ancestors of the Two Freaks sect even if he died instantly and returned to the Nine Netherworld. Ha 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 ha. True Lord Northsea laughed. He was laughing at Laze's insanity, absurdity and ignorance. This man kept calling Ning Fan his little Uncle Master. How ridiculous. It turned out that this old ancestor of Laze was also an idiot. He actually thought that Ning Fan was some great cultivator from the ancient times. Ignorant to the extreme, foolish to the extreme. Laze, you brought 14 constellation ancient emperors here alone. I'll assume that you have the battle prowess of 3 demi-saints. But I have 4 people on my side. Quasi-saint puppet immortal stone. The puppet's body had already been repaired, and it could fight. Earth Mansion Lord. As an ancient emperor, his strength was comparable to a quasi-sage. Daoist Chongsang. This person was also a first-stage quasi-saint, and his techniques were rather unfathomable. Coupled with perfected monarch Beihai himself, they indeed had the combat strength of 4 sage to be. If fellow Daoist Fuze didn't die, I would have the combat strength of 5 quasi-saints. What a pity, what a pity. Just as perfected Lord Beihai was feeling regretful, an icy gleam suddenly flashed across the starry sky. Since fellow Daoist feels that it's a pity, why don't you rank me as the 5th demi-sage? As he spoke, a person walked out of the icy light and looked at Laze with murderous intent. This person was the White Demon Sect's hidden quasi-sage, Exalted Immortal Extreme Ice. So it's fellow Daoist Extreme Ice. It's great that fellow Daoist is willing to help. I will remember this favor. Perfected Lord Beihai was overjoyed. Humph. I don't need your favor. I came here just to obtain the inheritance of the Black Devil sect from Ningfan. We're just taking what we need. Exalted Immortal Extreme Ice said arrogantly. Obviously, he was not on the same side as Perfected Lord Beihai. He just wanted to make use of him. Even though Perfected Lord Beihai did not like Exalted Immortal Extreme Ice's attitude, he would not show it. After all, he still needed Exalted Immortal Extreme Ice's power. This is bad. Exalted Ice is actually involved in this matter. Old Ancestor Lei Zhe's expression changed slightly. Fellow Taoist Extreme Ice is willing to be the 5th demisage. In that case, the 3 of us will be the 6th. All of a sudden, a voice resounded across the sky above Stone Room Mountain. Then 3 purplish-black spatial rifts appeared in the sky. 3 half-sage realm elders walked out of the rifts. The 3 elders of the Realm Clan. Old Ancestor Lei Zhe's expression turned even uglier. They were the 3 elders of the Realm Beast Clan. All of them were at the half-sage realm. They were 3 brothers born from the same mother. Their minds were connected, and they could fight against a demisage when they joined forces. Why are you Realm Beast Clan interfering in this matter? Old Ancestor Lei Zhe shouted furiously. Humph. We'll have to ask that brat Ningfan. Before he killed True Lord Fuse, he came out from the Four Corners chess world. His body is stained with the baleful chi of our Realm Beast Clan. The clansmen we sent to the Four Corners chess world must have been killed by him. Since he killed our clansmen, he must pay with his life. The 3 elders of the Realm Beast Clan shouted angrily. Well said. A life for a life, and a debt must be repaid. This is the common sense of heaven and earth. Fellow Taoist North Sea, I'm here to help you too. I didn't see your message earlier, and only saw it now. Please forgive me for being late. With a loud bang, a green vortex that was formed by ancient god power suddenly appeared in the sky. Then, a gigantic foot that was as large as a star suddenly stretched out from the vortex. It was a broken foot, the soul of a certain giant ancient god. The speed at which the foot descended was indescribable. Almost as soon as the foot appeared, it had already arrived in front of True Lord Beihai. As soon as the foot touched the ground, it turned into a burly ancient god with bare feet. Surprisingly, his cultivation base was at the 2nd level quasi-sage realm. During the Dharma ending era, the inheritance of the ancient gods was lost. However, this man somehow possessed the true ancient god bloodline. It was really strange. Fellow Taoist Shinzu, you're finally here. True Lord Beihai was overjoyed. Now he had full confidence to kill Ningfan, Lei Zhe, and the others. Ah! I heard that you have an enemy who has the ancestral blood of an ancient god that you want to kill. How can I not come? Is the previous promise still valid? Why don't I see the ancient god cultivator you mentioned? Great Immortal Shinzu's eyes swept across Lei Zhe and the others. When he saw that none of them had the true ancestral blood of an ancient god, he was instantly disappointed. The previous promise is still valid. Help me kill my enemy, and all his blood will belong to you, True Lord Beihai said. Where is that person now? He's in this Stone Room Mountain. All right. Then, we will destroy this mountain and capture that person to drink his blood. Countless cultivators of the Northern Heaven looked at the Stone Room Mountain from afar with pale faces. These cultivators had lived for their entire lives, but they had never seen so many quasi-sages and immortal emperors gathered together. It was ridiculous that these people did not participate in the Battle of the Border River, but wanted to join forces to kill Senior Zhao Jian. It was really too much. Seeing that a great battle was about to break out, those followers of Zhao Jian could not even set foot within 100,000 li of the Stone Room Mountain. Their cultivation levels were just too low. Even Sea Sand Emperor and the others could not interfere in this battle, let alone the others. These people could only watch True Lord Beihai and the others attack the Stone Room Mountain. Their hearts were filled with grief and indignation, but there was nothing they could do. Destroy the Stone Room Mountain. Kill Ningfan. Destroy the Stone Room Mountain. Kill Ningfan. The great battle began. Great Immortal Shinzu was alone, but he was able to stop the 14 ancient star emperors. Each of the lost ancient god abilities in his hands was extremely powerful. Even though those ancient star emperors could barely exchange blows with him, They could not hurt him at all. Old ancestor Lei Zhe, on the other hand, was unlucky. He had to face the joint attacks of True Lord Beihai, Immortal Stone, Chongsang, Extreme Ice, Earth Mansion Star Sovereign, and the 3 elders of the Jie clan all by himself. True Lord Beihai did not plan to hurt those ancient star emperors because they were the foundation of the Four Majestic sect. If he kills them, it would certainly enrage the Four Majestic sect. As for old ancestor Lei Zhe, since he addressed Ning Fan as his little uncle master, he would kill Lei Zhe even if it would enrage the Four Majestic sect. Rain Dragon Cloud Barrier Technique. Extreme Ice Domain Open. 3 mulberry flowers falling fire scorches the heavens. Eat Grandpa Immortal Stone's Fist. World Explosion Technique. Rumble. Old ancestor Lei Zhe could not even defeat True Lord Beihai alone. Now that he was besieged, he was instantly defeated. However, his eyes showed no sign of retreating. Instead, he really had the determination to die in this battle. His young martial uncle was right behind him. According to the rules of the Two Rights sect, when the seniors are in trouble, the juniors should protect them with their lives. He did not know what Ning Fan was doing in the Stone Chamber Mountain. He only knew that if he let anyone disturb Ning Fan's cultivation, he would no longer have the face to meet Uncle Master he and the ancestors of the Two Rights sect. If he wanted to enter Shirshir Mountain, he would have to die. After suppressing his injuries, the Luai's patriarch wanted to fight again. Suddenly, a golden light flashed in front of him, and his body was tied up by a strange golden rope. Not good. This is the immortal binding rope. The real deity tying rope. Cold sweat trickled down Lei Zhe patriarch's forehead. During the cultivationless age, there were many imitations of the immortal binding rope, but those were all fakes. This immortal binding rope was the real deal, its power boundless. If it was a fake immortal binding rope that bound him, he had 100 ways to break free. But this was the real immortal binding rope. Not only did it bind his physical body, but it also bound his primordial spirit. Once bound by the rope, unless one used brute force to break the rope, it would be impossible to escape. You're a quasi-sage but you can't see the situation clearly. You want to stop us by yourself? You're really courting death. Since you're so eager to die, I'll just turn you into my food. Earth House Celestial Lord pulled the immortal binding rope along with the Luai's patriarch back into his sleeves. Seeing that the Luai's patriarch was about to end up like Sea Sand Emperor and perfected Tao Li, a whiff of wine fragrance and a whiff of copper smell appeared in the air. The wine fragrance turned into a sword ray and slashed downwards. The immortal binding rope that even the Luai's patriarch could not break free from was cut into 2 by the sword ray. Just like that, the Luai's patriarch broke free. As for the copper smell became stronger and stronger. Suddenly, it turned into copper coins that rained down from the sky. Once the copper coins fell, everyone present could not hold the Dharma treasures in their hands anymore. They were all shocked and stopped fighting. Pure Young Ancestral Master stepped on the copper coins and descended from the sky. He did not expect that there would be other people who would help him to save the Luai's patriarch. Following closely behind Pure Young Ancestral Master, a fish swam across the sea. The wine fragrance and the sword ray were made by him. As soon as the fish got close to the Luai's patriarch and Pure Young Ancestral Master, he transformed into a white-robed sword immortal with a graceful bearing. Even though this sword immortal was already old, one could tell that he must have been a handsome young man when he was young just by looking at his facial features. Even though he was already old, he still had the mature temperament of a young lady. Strange. I didn't expect fourth brother you, who has never stepped into the mortal world, would actually get involved in this mess. Pure Young Ancestral Master said with surprise. You Lu Chunyang can meddle in this matter. Why can't I Ujizi do the same? Ujizi let out a long sigh. He was too lazy to meddle in the mortal world's business. However, Ning Fan had spared his life just now. What he hated the most in his life was owing favors to others. No matter what, he had to repay this favor no matter what. If Ning Fan is besieged and dies here today, he would no longer be able to return the favor. Thus he naturally could not just sit and watch. Are the two of you my little uncle master's best friends? The Luai's patriarch was pleasantly surprised. He knew about Pure Young Ancestral Master and Ujizi. Both of them were existences who were not weaker than true sovereign North Sea. With their help, Ning Fan would not have to worry about anything today. Just as he was about to ask a few more questions, a stream of clear qi suddenly spread out from the Shirshir mountain. At the same time, Ning Fan let out a muffled groan. He was injured. Even though he did not know what Ning Fan was doing in the Shirshir mountain, he could feel that Ning Fan was severely injured by the clear qi. Not good. Little Uncle Master's life is in danger. Chapter 1238. Hearing that Ning Fan was in trouble, old ancestor Lei Zhe's expression changed drastically. At this moment, on Shirshir Mountain, there was clear air rising into the sky from all directions. There was also an endless amount of turbid air that was like an awakened earth dragon, rolling and rolling. Clear qi and turbid qi intertwined in the small world of Shirshir Mountain. Every time they collided with each other, there would be a roar like comets colliding. Lines of the great path appeared between heaven and earth and collapsed one after another in the roar. There was also a strange fragrance wafting between heaven and earth for unknown reasons. Not good. The small world of Shirshir Mountain is actually collapsing. Young Martial Uncle must have been involved in this collapse. That's why he was injured. Then the Thunderlock Patriarch could not be bothered to talk to the Pure Young Patriarch and the Fish Master anymore. He flew out and was about to enter the Stone Room Mountain. Unexpectedly, just as he stepped into the range of Shirshir Mountain, a purple palm print suddenly appeared in the sky and pressed down. The palm print seemed to have pressed directly on the veins of the Great Path. As it pressed down, the collapse of the Shirshir Mountain suddenly intensified. Then, tens of thousands of cracks of the Great Path with faint purple light tore through the sky from 3 directions and attacked the Luai's Patriarch. Fellow Taoist, be careful. The Pure Young Patriarch and the Fish Master cried out in alarm, but they were too late. The speed at which the Great Path cracks tore forward was so fast that the Thunderlock Patriarch could not dodge at all. He only had time to put up a slight defense before he was hit. As he flew backward, countless bloody wounds appeared all over his body. Although the wounds on his body were only minor, Lei Zhe Patriarch still gasped in shock. At the critical moment, Su Ping had used his titled powers and created a wall of wind. That was how he had managed to fend off most of the energy. If his defense was half a step slower, he would definitely not have a good ending. This purple palm print, could it be? The Luai's Patriarch had a vague guess and a bad feeling rose in his heart. When he raised his head again, he saw 3 arrogant human faces emitting purple light in the sky above the collapsed Shirshir Mountain. God damn it! That was actually the face of the heavenly Tao's soul. It appeared directly above the heavens, looking down on all living beings with an insufferably arrogant look in its eyes. Furthermore, this was no ordinary heavenly Tao soul. It was the extremely rare purple-faced heavenly Tao soul of the illusionary realm. What was even more terrifying was that there were actually 3 purple-faced heavenly Tao souls. I am Ginseng Immortal. I am the Lingji Immortal. I am Immortal Deer Antler. By the will of the heavens, the immortal emperor decrees. The heavenly Tao of this place is now under the control of the 3 immortals of Tao Hun. This kid is the prey of the 3 immortals of Tao Hun. Those unrelated to this scram. Anyone who interferes will be killed. The 3 purple-faced human faces roared in unison, and the 3 streaks of purple heavenly might in their voices converged together, turning into a purple mist that swept out for 30,000 miles. Under the impact of the purple heavenly might, even true Lord Beihai could not stand steadily, and was sent flying for a great distance. The other old monsters were also in a sorry state, and were sent flying far away by the heavenly might. They could no longer get close to Shirshir Mountain. What a terrifying pressure. This feeling, could it be that it's the slight pressure left behind by that existence in this world? All the sage-to-be were shocked. No one who wasn't a sage-to-be could withstand such pressure, let alone barge into the Stone Room Mountain, because this was heaven's might, and it was an extremely special purple heaven's might. In the purple dough illusory world, this kind of purple heaven's might had an unusual meaning. That purple represented immortal sovereign Zido. Naturally, it was not something that a second-step cultivator could resist. The 3 heavenly Tao souls in front of them had purple faces, and they could borrow a little bit of Immortal Sovereign Zido's aura force. Without a doubt, they were the legendary purple-faced heavenly Tao souls. They were special existences who had secretly absorbed Immortal Sovereign Zido's aura force. Their status was above ordinary heavenly Tao souls. In history, the purple-faced heavenly Tao souls had only appeared 7 times. All of them appeared when they encountered people who they had to kill. There were many sage-to-be who attracted the purple-faced souls, including a second-level sage-to-be. However, all of them were killed by the purple-faced souls without exception. Today was the 8th time that the purple-faced heavenly Tao souls had appeared. Moreover, they attracted 3 of them at the same time. It was absolutely unprecedented. Without a doubt, the target of these purple-faced souls was Ning Fan. Then the question was, could Ning Fan survive in the hands of the 3 purple-faced souls? Everyone was doubtful about it. Even old ancestor Lei Zhe, who had witnessed Ning Fan's strength, did not think that Ning Fan could withstand the attacks of the 3 purple-faced souls. True Sovereign Beihai's eyes turned grim. He stared at the purple heavenly might that covered 30,000 li as if he was unwilling to submit to it. He stretched out his hand, trying to forcefully absorb a trace of the purple heavenly might and subdue it. In the end, he could only absorb a trace of heavenly might that was as thin as a strand of hair after using all of his cultivation base. It was just a trace of heavenly might, but it was as heavy as the sky in his hand. It was not the weight of the material realm, but the weight of the Tao. This was Immortal Sovereign Zido's Tao of Saint Defire. He could not lift it. It was too heavy. Too heavy. True Sovereign Beihai refused to believe it. Being able to cultivate to the second-level quasi-saint realm in a barren place like the illusionary world, he was naturally a proud and arrogant person. He did not believe that he would lose to an old man who had died countless years ago. He did not believe that he could not even subdue a trace of the opponent's aura force. He was determined to do it. Immortal Rain Transformation. True Sovereign Beihai muttered an incantation. The power of the Rain Master's title immediately gathered in his palm like raindrops, trying to directly dissolve the trace of the Immortal Sovereign's aura force. As a result, he had completely angered this trace of aura force. Originally, this trace of Immortal Sovereign's aura force did not want to be calculative with all living beings. However, True Sovereign Beihai wanted to stop it with his bare hands. Thus, this trace of aura force suddenly shook and turned into a ball of blazing purple flames. If Ning Fan was present, he would certainly be able to recognize the chi of this purple flame. It was exactly the same as the purple flames in the Immortal Gate of Heaven Desolate. Both of them were formed by Immortal Sovereign Zido's divine ability. Even with the abilities of the strange eyeball, it could not withstand the damage of the purple flames when it barged into the Immortal Gate of Heaven Desolate to hunt down Inmo. It could only escape by using tricks. Now that True Sovereign Beihai had angered this purple flame, he naturally would not end up well. However, when the purple flame flickered, True Sovereign Beihai did not even have the time to react. His palm that was holding the flame was directly burned into ashes. Then, that purple flame turned into a trace of purple heavenly might again, and returned to the group of purple chi that was 30,000 li. True Sovereign Beihai let out a miserable groan. His face was already pale and his heart was pounding madly. At this moment he regretted it. He regretted that he had overestimated himself by provoking the dignity of that supreme existence in the Purple Mountain Dohai. He who was in the illusionary world was indeed just a frog at the bottom of a well. The difference between him and Immortal Sovereign Zido was just too huge. He could not even defeat a trace of the Immortal Sovereign's aura force that had been dead for countless years. After this test, True Sovereign Beihai had already found out that this purple flame indeed contained the residual power of an Immortal Sovereign. If this purple flame willed it, the things that were burned by it would certainly not be able to recover by healing. Fortunately, this purple flame had shown him mercy in the end. Fellow Taoist Chong sang, "Please help me treat it." True Sovereign Beihai stretched out his broken wrist and said to Taoist Chong sang, I don't have the confidence to deal with an injury caused by an Immortal Sovereign. Taoist Chongsang had witnessed the scene where true sovereign Beihai was injured by the purple flame with his own eyes. Don't worry. That trace of heavenly might did not have any killing intent towards me. Thus, this injury can still be treated. Perhaps in the eyes of a fourth-step existence, my provocation is not worth getting angry at all. It's just like how an immortal cultivator like me would not truly get angry because of a gentle breeze. Thus he still showed mercy to me. Alright. I will give it a try. However, I can't guarantee that I will definitely succeed. 3 mulberry blossoms. Just like what true sovereign Beihai had said. Taoist Chongsang healed true sovereign Beihai's injury in almost the blink of an eye. It was naturally a great fortune and misfortune that his palm could recover. However, after this incident, true sovereign Beihai and the others became fearful of that mysterious purple heavenly might. As a result, they did not dare to disobey the 3 purple-faced souls of the heavenly Tao who controlled this purple heavenly might. Those 3 purple-faced souls seem to want to kill Ningfan with their own hands. They don't want us to interfere. If that's the case, we must not disobey them and get involved in this matter. Even I suffered a loss under that purple heavenly might. It's obvious how powerful those purple-faced souls are. With these 3 souls around, Ningfan will certainly die. We just need to pay attention and seal off the surrounding heaven and earth to prevent him from escaping from the mountain. True sovereign Beihai instructed. That's right. That's right. I'm afraid that Ningfan is going to die without a burial place today. We just need to wait and see, and then we can reap the benefits without doing anything. There's no need to get involved with those 3 purple-faced souls. Taoist Chongsang agreed. We can't let him die without a burial place. I came here to devour this young man's ancient divine bloodline. If this young man is turned into ashes by the purple-faced souls and his bloodline is destroyed, wouldn't I have to return empty-handed? Great Immortal Shinzu said with dissatisfaction. Fellow Taoist, don't be impulsive. Don't tell me you want to snatch Ningfan's head and devour his bloodline before he kills him? That's not wise. That's not wise at all. If you offend those 3 souls by doing that, we won't be able to keep you company when you bring disaster upon yourself. Exalted Immortal Extreme Ice was the first one to voice his objection. As a former Purple Dipper Immortal Realm cultivator, he was deeply fearful of the purple-faced souls. He would rather face the great cultivators of the ancient times than face the purple-faced souls' encirclement. After all, he could still protect himself against the great cultivators of the ancient times, but he would certainly die if he faces the purple-faced souls. Humph. I understand your reasoning. Of course, I won't be foolish enough to become enemies with those purple-faced souls. I'm just a little unwilling. Great Immortal Shinzu snorted coldly. Speaking of which, if this young man gets himself killed, will the reward that fellow Taoist North Sea has promised still count? Earth Mansion Star Sovereign also frowned. What he was concerned about was the reward that North Sea had promised him. Fellow Taoist Earth Mansion, you don't have to worry. Even if Ningfan is killed by the purple-faced souls, I won't go back on my promise. I won't let you suffer any losses. As for the matter that fellow Taoist Shinzu is worried about, how about this? If fellow Taoist really can't devour Ningfan's ancient divine bloodline during this trip, I will prepare another generous gift for you. What do you think? True Sovereign North Sea comforted him. That's the only way. However, I wonder what kind of gift fellow Taoist has prepared. Great Immortal Shinzu used telepathy to inquire about the latter half of his sentence. True Sovereign North Sea also replied with telepathy. When he heard that it was actually a treasure that was not inferior to the ancient divine bloodline, Great Immortal Shinzu's expression softened. Due to the order of the 3 purple-faced souls, True Sovereign North Sea and the others did not dare to interfere in the matter of killing Ningfan. They could only watch from the sidelines. However, it did not mean that Ningfan's situation had become better. The expressions of Lei Jia, Chun Yang and the Fish Lord were unprecedentedly solemn. They would rather Ningfan be targeted by True Sovereign North Sea, and the others than him being targeted by the purple-faced souls of the Heavenly Tao. The purple-faced souls of the Heavenly Tao themselves were not that scary. What was troublesome was that this kind of unique Heavenly Tao soul had absorbed the aura force of immortal sovereign Zido. Therefore, its abilities were not to be underestimated. Even the arrogant true sovereign North Sea had to lower his proud head in front of the purple-faced souls of the heavenly Tao. It was enough to tell how serious the problem was. A trace of purple heavenly might was already enough to injure true sovereign North Sea. If the heavenly might of 30,000 Li descends upon them at the same time, none of Leisha and the others had the confidence to survive. Facing the three purple-faced souls, Leisha and the others did not have the slightest chance of winning. Even the group of ancient star constellation sovereigns that old ancestor Leisha brought along were hesitant at this moment. They did not have the courage to go against the purple chi that was rampaging across 30,000 Li. They dared to go against true sovereign North Sea. However, they were unwilling to go against the aura force of an immortal sovereign that they had no chance of winning. Being afraid of death was human nature. If it was for the sake of their beliefs, these ancient star constellation sovereigns might not really be afraid of death. However, they were still reluctant to die for the sake of protecting Ning Fan, whom they had never met before. Old ancestor Lei, I don't know what kind of relationship you have with that ancient great cultivator Zhao Jian. However, business is business and personal matters are personal matters. As the ancient star constellation sovereigns, I am only willing to die for the Four Fish sect. I don't want to go against that purple-faced soul of the heavenly Tao. If you insist on interfering in this matter, please forgive me for leaving. Please reconsider, old ancestor Lei. These three purple-faced souls possess the power of an immortal sovereign. Seeing them is like seeing an immortal sovereign. The cultivators of the Four Fish sect respect the immortal sovereign. How can we disobey him? Old ancestor Lei, don't be impulsive. Even if you want to save him, how are you going to be a match for those three purple-faced souls? Perhaps Zhao Jian, the ancient great cultivator who attracted the purple-faced souls, has a brilliant plan. I heard that Senior Zhao had saved countless immortal emperors in the desolate land. However, I am not one of them. I don't owe Senior Zhao any karma, and there is no reason for me to die for him. The ancient star constellation sovereigns spoke up one after another, trying to dissuade old ancestor Lei Zhe from interfering in this matter. All of them wanted to retreat to avoid being killed. Seeing this scene, old ancestor Lei Zhe's heart instantly turned cold. He really wanted to scold these cowardly ancient star constellation sovereigns. However, when he thought about it, if the person he was helping this time was not his little martial uncle, but an outsider who had nothing to do with him, he would definitely retreat as well. What right did he have to blame these people? Forget it. All of you can go back now. This is my business. This is my little martial uncle. He doesn't need you to save him, and it's not your turn to save him. I will save him myself. Old ancestor Lei Zhe let out a sigh and waved his hand to dismiss the ancient star constellation sovereigns. The one who was targeted by the purple-faced soul was his little martial uncle. Of course, he could not just sit and watch, even if the opponent was a terrifying existence like the purple-faced soul. Otherwise, how would he be able to face Senior Martial Uncle He in the future? Oh right, there's still Senior Martial Uncle He. If Senior Martial Uncle He takes action, old ancestor Lei Zhe's eyes lit up. At that moment he saw the hope of saving Ning Fan. Without hesitation, he wanted to use a secret technique to send a message to the all-knowing old man who was living in seclusion in the forbidden area of the Light Clan. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to send a message, the all-knowing old man seemed to have seen through his thoughts and directly transmitted his voice to his ears from the forbidden area of the Light Clan, which was countless galaxies away. There's no need to send a message. I'm watching. This old man wants to see if these ginseng deer antler toys can harm this old man's junior brother in the slightest. If they can really injure junior brother Ning, then haha, I will overturn Zishan Hai and kill everyone in Zishan Hai. Then, I will kill my way back to the true world, and kill my way back to the old thieving Baldi Hong Jun. I want to kill Earth, Heaven and Samsara. I want to kill. I want to avenge my junior martial brother. Junior martial brother. Junior martial brother. I'm sorry. It's over. Senior martial uncle He is going crazy again. At this moment, his craziness has not come to him yet. However, if anything happens to junior martial uncle, Senior Marshal Uncle, he will definitely go crazy and start a massacre in the Purple Mountain Do High. Old Ancestor Lei Zhe felt like crying. Now he was no longer afraid that Junior Marshal Uncle would be hurt by the purple-faced souls. Instead, he was afraid that no one would be able to suppress Senior Marshal Uncle. When he goes crazy. Compared to the crazy Senior Marshal Uncle, the purple-faced souls were just like cute babies. They were not scary at all. Forget it. I won't rely on Senior Marshal Uncle for now. I think I'll do it myself and help Junior Marshal Uncle. The few ancient star constellation emperors were right about one thing. Based on my understanding of Junior Marshal Uncle, he must have come prepared since he attracted 3 purple-faced souls here. It's impossible that he is completely helpless. I just need to help from the side. Maybe I can really defeat these 3 purple-faced souls. Old Ancestor Lei Zhe let out a long sigh of relief. He secretly activated the power of his title and approached the 3 purple-faced souls by stepping on the wind of one realm. At the moment when Old Ancestor Lei Zhe made his move, Chun Yang and the Fish Lord also made their moves. What shocked Old Ancestor Lei Zhe was that the two of them did not choose to leave like the other ancient star constellation emperors. Instead, they chose to fight the 3 purple-faced souls with him. This is not logical. This is too illogical. Ning Fan was his Junior Marshal Uncle. That was why he was willing to risk his life to save him. However, what kind of friendship did the two of them have with Ning Fan? Why are they still willing to get involved in this mess? Don't they know how terrifying those purple-faced souls are? Could it be that the two of you have been friends with my Junior Marshal Uncle for a long time? Under his excitement, Old Ancestor Lei Zhe finally asked the doubt in his heart. As soon as they heard his words, Chun Yang and the Fish Lord were stunned. After exchanging glances with each other, they burst into laughter. A friendship that has been through life and death. Fellow Taoist, you are wrong. This old man is a businessman. I don't have any friendship with anyone but money. However, even if it's money, there are things that can't be bought. Even I have times where I want to meddle in other people's business. Unfortunately, I am a person who doesn't like to give up halfway. Since I have already interfered in this matter, there is no reason for me to withdraw halfway. Otherwise, how can I live up to the name of the Purple Dipper Immortal Cultivator? If I have to pay an irreparable price because of this matter, I will ask fellow Taoist Ning to compensate me properly. I only hope that I can still be alive at that time and plunder fellow Taoist Ning as much as I can. Pure Yang Ancestor laughed in a carefree manner. He was neither ashamed because his words were tainted with the stench of money, nor was he afraid because he was facing death. What you said is very kind. I will definitely repay you. In the past, I only thought that you, Lu Chunyang, were a coward who was trapped by love and was afraid of death. I didn't expect you to be a great man and a true man. Since I'm in a hurry, there's naturally no reason for me to back off halfway. What I hate the most is owing karma to others. Since I'm determined to repay some debt, even if the enemy is an even more terrifying existence, I'll still draw my sword against it, let alone the purple-faced soul of the heavenly Tao. I will bring my sword and carry my bow. My head and body will be separated, but my heart will not be punished. A ray of cold light shot up to the sky. Master Yu had already drawn his sword and dashed towards one of the 3 purple-faced souls. He did not say anything but only had the determination to fight to the death here. His motive was definitely not because of any friendship, but because of his own principles of doing things. I regret not meeting you sooner. I regret not meeting you sooner. Pure Young Ancestor laughed aloud. He stepped on an ancient coin that was as large as a millstone, and also rushed towards one of the 3 purple-faced souls. That kind of heroic spirit of facing death with equanimity deeply influenced Old Ancestor Lei Zhe. From Pure Yang and Master Yu, Old Ancestor Lei Zhe saw countless shadows of the martyrs of the Purple Dipper Immortal Cultivators. They are the true Purple Dipper Immortal Cultivators. Compared to the two of them, he who was only going to die for a personal matter seemed too insignificant. Wind, come. Old Ancestor Lei Zhe let out a long roar and dashed towards the last of the 3 purple-faced souls. While he was dashing towards them, he was also paying attention to the situation inside the mountain. He wanted to see if Ningfan's life had been harmed by the three purple-faced souls. Unfortunately, the small heaven and earth inside the mountain was currently collapsing. Clear and turbid chi interweaved between heaven and earth. He could not sense anything at all. His spirit sense could not even reach a distance of 100 zhang before it was crushed by the purple heavenly might. He could not sense whether Ningfan was dead or alive at all. However, he firmly believed that Ningfan was definitely not dead. He must still be hiding somewhere inside the mountain. Otherwise, Uncle Master, he must have already gone mad. Humph! How dare you go against heaven and stop us from killing that arrogant child? Ginseng Immortal's Tao soul body was forced out by old ancestor Lei Zhe. He was so angry that his eyes widened. What a great humiliation! What a great humiliation! He was a dignified purple-faced soul of the heavenly Tao. His status was extremely high among all the souls of the heavenly Tao. However, he was forced out of his true form by a cultivator and broke away from the heavenly Tao. It was really embarrassing. The Ginseng Immortal who was forced out of his true form had the appearance of an old Taoist with a long white beard. His robe was embroidered with the totem of a divine mountain ginseng. His cultivation base was equivalent to a quasi-saint realm expert of 11,000 tribulations realm. The divine mountain ginseng was one of the members of the Tao Soul clan of the true world. It was not a big clan, and this Ginseng Immortal was not an important figure in the clan. It had been many years since he left his clan. His body was trapped in the purple battle illusory world, and he no longer had any hope of returning to the true world. He had secretly eaten a small amount of the aura force that immortal sovereign Zido left in the heavenly Tao. Because of this, he was confident that he could kill old ancestor Lei Zhe even though he was not strong. So you are just a first-level quasi-saint. Your cultivation base is not even as strong as mine. Old ancestor Lei Zhe heaved a sigh of relief. As long as the purple-faced soul's cultivation base did not surpass his, he might still be able to fight this battle. Haha! To us purple-faced souls of the heavenly Tao, cultivation base is nothing. I don't need to use any cultivation base at all. I just need to summon the heavenly might of purple battle, and I won't need 100 breaths to kill you. The Ginseng Immortal put his hands together and began to cast a spell. In an instant, the clear and turbid aura in the world swept towards old ancestor Lei Zhe. There was even the purple heavenly might contained within it. Anything that came into contact with the purple heavenly might was instantly burned to ashes. Old ancestor Lei Zhe summoned the wind of one world and turned it into a 10,000-mile wind prison in an attempt to block the purple heavenly might. However, it only lasted for a dozen breaths before it was crushed by the purple heavenly might. His expression was extremely unpleasant. He summoned the power of the primordial Yin wind that he had just obtained. However, even the primordial Yin wind could not suppress immortal sovereign Zido's aura force. After another dozen breaths, he was defeated again. Damn it! If it wasn't for this purple heavenly might, you would not be my opponent. Old ancestor Lei Zhe was extremely frustrated. He had no choice but to take out the Wind Count's pouch and use all the power of the titled Void Realm in an attempt to absorb the purple heavenly might controlled by the Ginseng Immortal into the pouch. Fortunately, the Ginseng Immortal's purple heavenly might did not have much murderous intent towards old ancestor Lei Zhe. Therefore, it did not take much effort for the Ginseng Immortal to absorb it into the pouch. Unfortunately, the Wind Count's pouch could not contain the aura force of a fourth-step immortal sovereign. Once it absorbed the aura force, the space inside it started to collapse. According to the speed of the collapse, it would take at most 1,000 breaths for his Wind Count's pouch to be completely destroyed along with his Wind Count title. Only 1,000 breaths. Old ancestor Lei Zhe could only use the titled Void Realm to fight for the precious 1,000 breaths. If he could kill the Ginseng Immortal within 1,000 breaths and extinguish the purple heavenly might in the pouch, he might still have a chance. If he couldn't do it, damn it, I have to do it even if I can't. After all, this matter concerned little Uncle Master's life. You're crazy. How dare you use the titled Void Realm to forcefully control the fourth-step immortal sovereign? Are you planning to give up the titled Void Realm that you cultivated so hard to obtain? Sacrificing the titled Void Realm just to fight me for 1,000 breaths without being defeated? How stupid! The ginseng immortal was shocked. At this moment, the purple heavenly might that he controlled had been absorbed by the Wind Count's pouch. Without the purple heavenly might, he was no match for old ancestor Lei Zhe. After all, old ancestor Lei Zhe was a titled quasi-saint, and his magic power was stronger than his. Old ancestor Lei Zhe ignored the ginseng immortal. He only had a precious 1,000 breaths and had no time to talk nonsense. Even if he was slightly stronger than the ginseng immortal, it was almost impossible for him to kill a quasi-saint within 1,000 breaths. But even if he couldn't do it, he had to do it. Ancient true body appear. Divine wind sword explode. Great wind drum explode. Wind extinguishing fan explode. Wind scattering whip explode. All the Dharma treasures explode. With the power of all the explosive winds, with 30% of my blood, I will create a wind of destruction for this old man to kill. Old ancestor Lei Zhe seemed to have gone mad, exploding his postnatal and connate Dharma treasures at all costs. These were all his treasures, but he used them all at this moment. Even his blood was sacrificed crazily, finally exploding a forbidden technique. Hence, the scene of immortal ginseng being beaten up by the Luai's patriarch appeared. Without Zido Heaven's prestige, immortal ginseng couldn't even be considered an expert among the sage-to-be, let alone a titled sage-to-be. The ginseng immortal was injured all over by old ancestor Lei Zhe, and his essence blood splattered in the sky. At first, True Lord North Sea and the others just watched the battle quietly, waiting for old ancestor Lei Zhe to be killed by the ginseng immortal. But when they accidentally touched the ginseng immortal's essence blood, their eyes lit up, and they were greedy. What a terrifying medicinal effect. Although this old immortal ginseng has the identity of the heavenly Tao soul, he is still a divine ginseng. If I can eat him, that greedy thought disappeared as quickly as it appeared. True Lord North Sea and the others didn't dare to take the risk. If they didn't get any benefits and ended up being killed by the purple battle heavenly might, the losses would outweigh the gains. On the other side, the pure young ancestral master and the Ganoderma immortal were fighting. The pure young ancestral master usually didn't show himself, and hid in the heaven-avoiding coffin like a useless person. Now that he was facing the Ganoderma immortal, he finally revealed his powerful strength in front of the world. The Ganoderma immortal's purple heavenly might is powerful, isn't it? I'll use money to seal it for you. The Ganoderma immortal's escape technique seems to be brilliant too. It's alright, I'll continue to use money to seal your escape technique as well. What? The Ganoderma immortal can spit fire, and the fire it spat could burn the money he used. It seems like I didn't use enough money. Then I'll use 10 times more. The money fell from the sky. The Ganoderma immortal was no match for the pure young ancestral master at all. He was being suppressed by the pure young ancestral master, and couldn't even resist. He was a quasi-saint with 10,500 tribulations after all. How could he be so much weaker than the pure young ancestral master? Why? Why was it that the Ganoderma immortal couldn't use any of his divine skills when he used them? He couldn't even use his magic treasures, and was sealed the moment he used them. Why? Because I have money, I can do whatever I want. This is my Tao. Money can move the gods. The pure young ancestral master, Wang Ji, looked at the Ganoderma immortal with disdain. He had the attitude of a rich and invincible nouveau riche. The disposition of an immortal cultivator who was unafraid of death had long been thrown beyond the clouds. This pure young old man is so strong. If I'm the one fighting him, I probably won't be able to do anything to him even with all my divine skills. True monarch North Sea was truly frightened by the pure young ancestral master. The dominating power that the pure young ancestral master displayed was too terrifying. His performance on the battlefield was completely unlike that of a first-level quasi-saint. It was as if he had the dominating power of an ancient grand cultivator. After all, a first-level quasi-saint shouldn't be completely suppressed by a second-level quasi-saint. At the very least, he should be able to retaliate. Only an ancient grand cultivator could suppress a first-level quasi-saint to such an extent. I didn't expect this Lu Qinyang to have the strength of a grand cultivator. This old man has hidden his strength too deeply. Unexpected, truly unexpected. As expected of the person who invented the heaven-avoiding coffin. He's indeed not someone to be trifled with. The helpers that true monarch North Sea brought were all shocked. They looked at the pure young ancestral master, as if they were looking at a monster. However, these people didn't know that even though the pure young ancestral master seemed to be invincible on the battlefield, he was the only one who knew the knot in his heart. On the surface, the pure young ancestral master was acting arrogantly, but he was actually crying blood in his heart. Is he fighting? He's throwing money. He's using money to deal with those who aren't convinced. Every breath of time, he has to use countless Tao crystals, heavenly Tao silver, and heavenly Tao gold. Then the problem is, will there be a time when the money is used up? When the money is used up, he will return to his original form and return to the strength of an ordinary titled quasi-saint. According to this speed of throwing money, I can only last for 2,000 breaths at most. 2,000 breaths, Brother Ning. Don't make me wait for too long. Quickly finish your things and come help me. Also, you must make up for this old man's losses after this. Otherwise, this old man will eat and drink from you for the rest of his life. I will shamelessly rely on you to earn back this money. On the last battlefield, Fish Lord was facing immortal Deer Antler, who had 12,000 tribulation transcendence energy. This immortal Deer Antler was the strongest of the three purple-faced souls, but he was also the most cowardly one. He was afraid that Fishmaster would have some kind of method to take away his purple heavenly might and then beat him up, so he kept the purple heavenly might around him to protect himself. He did not dare to use it to attack Fishmaster. After all, compared to Leijia and Chunyang, Master Yu's cultivation was the strongest. He was a second-stage demi-saint. Furthermore, Fish Lord was a sword cultivator. Sword cultivators were famed for their powerful attacks. Without the protection of the purple heaven's might, Deer Antler Immortal was 100% certain that he would be killed by Fish Lord within 100 swords. Luckily, he had the purple heaven's might protecting him. So this kind of assumption was not valid. Humph! Your companions won't be able to hold on for long. When they are defeated and die one by one, my companions will turn back and attack you. At that time, you will only have a dead end. Immortal Deer Antler was confronting the Fishmaster while disturbing the Fishmaster's mind. Don't worry, I'll kill you before these two fellow Taoists are defeated, even if I have to pay a huge price. Weapon disintegration. You're crazy. How can there be a sword cultivator who disintegrates his own body and sacrifices his life to turn into a sword to kill others? Don't kill me. Don't kill me. The weapon disintegration was a sword technique that would definitely result in death. From this, it could be seen how determined Fish Lord was to help Ning Fan. Not only was Deer Antler Immortal stunned by Fish Lord's actions, even Chunyang and Leijia who were in his camp were shocked. After the shock, it was followed by a sense of inferiority and respect. To think that he could actually be so heroic and heroic. Among the sword cultivators in the current world, there wouldn't be a second person who was as chivalrous as Fish Lord. Ning Fan fell into silence. He did not expect that the last step of refining his virtue umbrella would actually attract the encirclement of three purple-faced souls of heavenly Tao. Moreover, he did not expect that there would be three people who would help him block the purple-faced souls' attacks. Ning Fan held the virtue umbrella that was close to completion, and stood in the middle of the collapsing heaven and earth where the pure and turbid qi interweaved. He quietly released his rain technique, and watched everything silently. At the same time, true monarch Northern Sea frowned slightly. Obviously, he had noticed the rain technique. Even though they were both the controllers of rain, Ning Fan's rain technique still could not hide from true monarch Northern Sea who was nearby. Humph! Coward! Your friend is helping you block the calamity, but you're hiding at the side. Quickly show yourself and die. True monarch Northern Sea muttered to himself. The people around him were all stunned. They did not understand why true monarch Northern Sea would say such words. However, true monarch Northern Sea believed that Ning Fan could certainly hear what he said. If this young man could not take the provocation and showed himself on the spot, it would be the best. In that case, he would be able to join the battle and fight against those souls of heavenly Tao until both sides suffer. By then, be it Ning Fan or the three purple-faced souls, all of them would become his fishermen. Be it immortal ginseng, immortal Ganoderma or immortal deer antler. All of them seem to be very nutritious. If they don't have the chance, they certainly would not dare to attack the person who wields the purple battle heaven's prestige. However, what if there is a chance? Ning Fan heard True Monarch Northern Sea's words, but he did not give any response. He was not a reckless young man who was inexperienced. He would not be provoked by a few words. Of course, it did not mean that his mind was as calm as still water. On the contrary, the blood in Ning Fan's body now had temperature. It was boiling like boiling water and burning like a raging fire. He seemed to be infected by someone's hot-bloodedness. At the same time, he seemed to be angry at the sacrifice of the fish master, angry at the danger that Pure Yang Patriarch and Thunderlock Patriarch had encountered. But he could not leave this place. Currently, the Karma umbrella was only close to its complete form. However, it had yet to be truly refined. Such a Karma umbrella already possessed the massive power of the true Karma umbrella. However, because its form had yet to solidify, once Ning Fan stops refining it, the umbrella would explode and release all of its power. It was released in the form of an explosion. The Merit umbrella was a third step item. If it exploded, the entire Time Sea and the Lost World Palace would be engulfed in it. I've always been alone, so it doesn't matter where I cultivate in seclusion. I'm not afraid of enemies, and I'm not afraid of the consequences of this matter. However, I didn't expect that someone would block the calamity for me. And it seems like I shouldn't be so casual in the future. I can't let unrelated friends get involved in my troubles. Friend at this moment. Ning Fan had clearly regarded Leisha, Chunyang and the Fishmaster as his friends. Even if he only came into contact with the Pure Yang, and didn't even have the chance to meet the Fishmaster. However, at this moment, he still acted on his own accord and regarded these people as his friends. He had very few friends. However, if he could entrust his life to them, he would not mind making a few more of them. No one likes to be alone. Only when they want to protect something would they choose to be alone. Alright, Karma Umbrella. Let's finish the last step quickly. I'm in a hurry. Speaking of which, I don't think you need me to teach you how to fuse with the umbrella, right? Even if it's an umbrella, it's still a magic treasure with a strong spiritual nature. It should know what it means to have sex. You're not willing? You actually don't want to have sex with me, your master? This is not good. It's really not good. After all, if you don't truly have sex with me, you won't be able to truly become one with the umbrella. Do you understand what I mean? Oh, so you're just shy. You've never had such an experience when you were the heaven-fighting Jade Umbrella? Actually, you're not really against this? That's good. I really don't like to use force. It's best if you can take the initiative. In a hidden corner that no one noticed, a magical scene appeared. Ning Fan actually began to have a shy conversation with an umbrella. Then, some indescribable things happened. The Ant Lord who was in Ning Fan's sea of consciousness was so embarrassed by this scene that it would infuriate both humans and gods. There are countless methods to become one with the umbrella in this world. He actually chose this one. How can there be such a strange being in this world? After an unknown period of time, True Monarch Beihai, who was standing calmly on the rain dragon, suddenly felt something. Then he was so angry that he coughed out blood. He was so angry that his face turned green. That's right. Even the flames of anger that rushed out from the top of his head were green. 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 Shameless child. You deserve to die. Damn it. You didn't even spare the umbrella. How dare you do this to my destined fiancé? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, you bastard. Ah. Ning Fan. I swear that I'm not a human if I don't kill you. At this moment, True Monarch Beihai was so angry that he coughed out blood. Everyone was shocked by his strange behavior. Fu Suchen, who was standing behind True Monarch Beihai, silently looked at his master with a puzzled expression. He had already secretly found out that his fiancé, Bei Xiaoman, had been taken by Ning Fan. That's right, I've been cuckolded by Ning Fan. But why does my master also look like he's cuckolded by Ning Fan? He even kept saying that Ning Fan had snatched his wife. Wait a minute. Since when does my master have a wife? And when did Ning Fan snatch his wife away? It's really ridiculous. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.